The year 2457 marked the end of hope for Earth's dying civilizations and the beginning of humanity's most desperate gamble for survival among distant stars. The Doomstar bombardments had transformed the cradle of human civilization into a scarred wasteland where orange-tinted skies reflected the perpetual dust clouds that shrouded continents once green with life. In the subterranean cities where survivors scraped existence from the ruins of a poisoned world, street-smart individuals like Cyrus Gant learned that survival demanded skills that no civilized society had ever required. When the generation ship Redemption departed Earth's dying orbital shipyards carrying 40,000 refugees toward the distant promise of New Eden, the expedition represented more than colonial ambition. The journey embodied humanity's final attempt to preserve civilization against extinction, utilizing technologies that bordered on the supernatural and carrying individuals whose capabilities exceeded normal human limitations. Yet among the carefully selected colonists, military personnel, and genetically enhanced monitors aboard the massive starship, few possessed the street-level survival instincts that would prove essential when humanity's greatest journey encountered threats that no mission planner had anticipated. The voyage that began with hope would test every resource that the human species possessed, demanding sacrifices that would challenge the fundamental nature of human identity itself. The future of civilization rested in the hands of those prepared to gamble everything for species survival. Tamil. Chapter 1. Journey to New Eden. The observation deck of the starship Redemption offered the last view humanity would have of Earth for generations to come. Through the reinforced transparent steel viewport, the blue marble that had cradled civilization for millennia appeared as nothing more than a scarred remnant of its former glory. Continents bore the blackened wounds of the Doomstar bombardments, and the once pristine oceans reflected a sickly orange hue from the perpetual dust clouds that shrouded the atmosphere. Cyrus Gant pressed his palm against the cool surface of the viewport, watching as Earth diminished to a point of light among countless others. The year was 2457, and humanity was abandoning its birth world not by choice but by necessity. The Doomstar days had left their mark on more than just the planet's surface. They had carved deep scars into the collective psyche of the human race, scars that would take centuries to heal, if they ever did. "Final systems check complete," announced Commander Sarah Valdez over the ship's communication array. Her voice carried across every deck, every compartment, every cramped living space that housed the 40,000 souls aboard the Redemption. "All departments report ready for jump initiation. Citizens of Earth, today we begin the longest voyage in human history." The starship itself represented the pinnacle of human engineering and desperation combined. Stretching nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern, the Redemption was both ark and fortress, designed to carry humanity's survivors across the impossible gulf between stars. Its hull bore the scars of hasty construction, welding marks still visible where emergency repairs had been made during the final evacuation from Earth's dying orbital shipyards. Within its massive superstructure, distinct communities had formed during the years of preparation. The civilian colonists occupied the central residential sectors, families and individuals who had won their places through lottery, skill, or sheer determination to escape Earth's ecological collapse. They carried with them the seeds of human culture, teachers, artists, farmers, engineers, and craftsmen who would rebuild civilization on whatever world awaited them. The Space Navy maintained strict discipline in the forward military sections. These were the men and women who had fought in the orbital wars that preceded the Doomstar crisis, veterans hardened by combat in the vacuum of space. Their uniforms bore the insignia of a dozen different conflicts, and their faces carried the weathered look of those who had seen humanity at its worst and still chose to protect what remained. Among the most feared occupants of the ship were the monitors, segregated in their own heavily secured decks. These were no longer entirely human, though they had once been. Genetic modification and cybernetic enhancement had transformed them into living weapons, originally created to combat the cyborg uprising that had preceded the alien attacks. Standing nearly 3 meters tall and possessing strength that could crush steel, the monitors represented humanity's willingness to sacrifice its own nature in pursuit of survival. Yet perhaps the most mysterious passengers aboard the Redemption were the four individuals known simply as the Specials. Unlike the Monitors, whose modifications were visible and brutal, the Specials appeared entirely human. Their power lay not in enhanced muscles or reinforced bones, but in capabilities that defied conventional understanding of physics and biology. Dr. Elena Vasquez, the expedition's chief xenopsychologist, had spent years studying the phenomenon of psionic abilities. Her research indicated that the Specials possessed the capacity to manipulate space-time itself, creating temporary rifts that allowed for instantaneous travel across vast distances. The implications of such power were staggering and terrifying. The psionic abilities we observe in the Specials represent an evolutionary leap that humanity may not be prepared to understand, Dr. Vasquez had written in her classified reports. Their capacity to jump through space by creating controlled tears in the fabric of reality gives them capabilities that border on the supernatural. Yet with such power comes risk, not just to themselves, but to everyone around them. The four Specials kept to themselves in a specially constructed section of the ship, isolated from the general population by both physical barriers and strict protocol. Their names were known to only the highest levels of command: Marcus Chen, a former academic whose psychic awakening had occurred during the siege of Luna City; Sarah Kim, a combat veteran whose abilities had manifested during a particularly brutal engagement with cyborg forces; David Rodriguez, a civilian engineer whose powers had emerged in the aftermath of a Doomstar attack; and the fourth member, whose identity remained classified even from most of the ship's senior staff. Among the general population, rumors circulated about the Specials and their true purpose on the expedition. Some believed they were humanity's secret weapon, insurance against whatever threats might await at New Eden. Others whispered that they were dangerous, unstable individuals whose powers could tear the ship apart if they lost control. The truth, as often happened with classified military projects, remained shrouded in secrecy and speculation. Cyrus Gant knew more about the Specials than most civilians, but far less than he would have preferred. His background in the underground networks of Earth's subterranean cities had taught him to read between the lines of official announcements and to recognize when information was being deliberately withheld. The son of dust dealers and black market smugglers, Cyrus had earned his place on the expedition not through lottery or skill, but through a combination of luck, timing, and the kind of street-smart resourcefulness that military planners had deemed valuable for a colonial mission. The drug trade that had consumed much of his youth on Earth was a relic of a dying world, but the skills he had developed, the ability to read people, to spot deception, to navigate complex social hierarchies, remained as sharp as ever. Those skills told him that the four Specials represented something more significant than the official briefings suggested. "Beginning jump sequence initialization," Commander Valdez announced. "All personnel to secure positions. Jump will commence in T-minus 60 minutes. The technology that would carry them to New Eden was itself a marvel born of desperation and scientific breakthrough. The jump drive represented humanity's first successful attempt at faster-than-light travel, developed in the final years before the Doomstar crisis reached its catastrophic conclusion. Unlike the theoretical warp drives of previous decades, the jump system relied on the controlled manipulation of space-time, creating temporary corridors through higher dimensional space. The irony was not lost on mission planners that humanity's salvation required the same fundamental forces that the Specials wielded with their minds. The jump drive was, in essence, a mechanical approximation of psionic abilities, requiring massive amounts of energy and precise calculations to achieve what the Specials could accomplish through will and genetic mutation alone. New Eden represented hope incarnate for the 40,000 refugees aboard the Redemption. Located 230 light-years from Earth in the constellation Andromeda, the system had been identified through long-range telescopic surveys as possessing multiple worlds within the habitable zone of a stable star. Preliminary data suggested the presence of water, acceptable atmospheric conditions, and perhaps most importantly, no signs of intelligent life that might contest humanity's claim to a new home. The journey itself would take the better part of a standard year, involving multiple jumps across carefully calculated waypoints. Each jump carried risks: the possibility of emerging inside a stellar body, of miscalculating spatial coordinates, or of suffering catastrophic drive failure in the void between stars. Yet these risks paled beside the certainty of remaining on a dying Earth. As the countdown continued, Cyrus made his way through the ship's corridors, observing the final preparations. In the civilian sectors, families gathered in small groups, sharing what might be their last quiet moments before the uncertainty of interstellar travel consumed their lives. Children who had never known Earth without the orange-tinted sky of the Doomstar aftermath asked questions about the new world they would call home. The military sections buzzed with controlled activity as Navy personnel conducted final equipment checks and reviewed emergency protocols. The monitors remained in their secured areas, their presence felt rather than seen, a reminder of humanity's capacity for self-transformation in the face of existential threat. T-minus 30 minutes to jump initiation, the announcement echoed through the ship. All departments confirm readiness status. Cyrus found himself drawn back to the observation deck where a small crowd had gathered to witness humanity's departure from its birth world. Earth was now barely distinguishable from the surrounding stars, yet its emotional weight remained immense. They were leaving behind not just a planet, but the entirety of human history, every triumph, every failure, every moment of beauty and tragedy that had shaped their species. The new Eden system awaited them across an almost incomprehensible distance, a beacon of hope in the cosmic darkness. Yet as Cyrus watched the final countdown proceed, he could not shake the feeling that their journey would lead to challenges that none of the mission planners had anticipated. His instincts, honed in the dangerous streets of Earth's underground, whispered warnings about the unknown variables that lay ahead. "Jump initiation in 10 seconds, Commander Valdez announced. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, jump." The universe twisted around the redemption as the jump drive engaged, tearing a hole in space-time itself. For a moment that lasted an eternity, 40,000 human souls existed in the space between dimensions, carried forward by hope and technology toward an uncertain destiny among alien stars. Earth disappeared behind them, and ahead lay New Eden and whatever secrets the cosmos held for humanity's future. Chapter 2: The Four Specials and Their Supernatural Powers. The specialized quarters occupied by the Specials lay deep within the Redemption's most heavily shielded section, 3 decks below the main civilian residential areas, and protected by electromagnetic barriers that could withstand a direct hit from military-grade weaponry. The location was no accident. When individuals possessed the capacity to manipulate the fundamental structure of space-time, conventional security measures became insufficient safeguards against both external threats and internal catastrophe. Dr. Elena Vasquez descended through the security checkpoints that morning, her research credentials granting her access to areas forbidden to most of the ship's population. Her weekly evaluation sessions with the Specials represented one of the expedition's most critical ongoing studies, though the true scope of her findings remained classified at the highest levels of military command. The first checkpoint required biometric verification, DNA sampling, and a comprehensive psychological evaluation administered by the ship's artificial intelligence systems. The second checkpoint involved a more invasive procedure, a complete neural scan designed to detect any form of psionic influence or mental contamination that might compromise the security of the special containment areas. "Dr. Vasquez, you are cleared for entry," the automated security system announced as the final barrier disengaged. "Please note that today's session will include Subject 4, whose participation in research protocols has been approved by Admiral Morrison personally." The revelation caught Dr. Vasquez off guard. Subject 4 had remained isolated from research activities since the expedition's departure from Earth, his identity and capabilities shrouded in classification levels that exceeded even her substantial security clearance. The fact that Admiral Morrison had authorized his participation suggested developments in the mission that had not been communicated through normal channels. The special quarters consisted of 4 separate living spaces arranged around a central common area, each unit designed to accommodate both the basic needs of human habitation and the unique requirements of individuals whose abilities could potentially tear holes in the ship's hull. The walls contained embedded dampening fields calibrated to suppress psionic emissions, while emergency isolation protocols could seal each unit within seconds if containment became necessary. Marcus Chen emerged from his quarters as Dr. Vasquez entered the common area. The former academic appeared deceptively ordinary, his slight build and wire-rimmed glasses suggesting a life spent in libraries rather than developing capabilities that defied conventional physics. Yet the space around him seemed to shimmer slightly, as if reality itself bent in response to his presence. "Doctor, I trust your morning has been productive," Marcus said, his voice carrying the measured tones of someone accustomed to precise communication. "I have been reviewing the theoretical frameworks we discussed during our previous session. The mathematics of spatial manipulation continue to reveal fascinating implications." Vasquez activated her recording devices and settled into the specially designed chair that would monitor her vital signs throughout the session. Her research into psionic phenomena had taught her that prolonged exposure to special abilities could produce unexpected physiological effects, ranging from minor headaches to severe neurological disruption. "Marcus, I would like to begin today by examining the precise mechanisms through which you create spatial rifts," she said, consulting her prepared questions. "Our understanding of the energy requirements involved remains incomplete, particularly regarding the source of power that enables such manipulation of space-time." Marcus nodded and extended his right hand, palm facing upward. The air above his palm began to distort, creating a visible warping effect that resembled heat shimmer rising from sun-baked pavement. The distortion grew more pronounced until a small tear appeared in the fabric of space itself, revealing a glimpse of the corridor outside the special quarters. "The process begins with conscious manipulation of quantum fields," Marcus explained as the spatial rift stabilized. "Human consciousness, when properly focused and genetically predisposed, can influence the probability matrices that govern subatomic interactions. By altering these probabilities, we create conditions that allow for localized violations of conventional physical laws." Through the tear in space, Vasquez could see crew members moving through the distant corridor, completely unaware that they were being observed through a fold-in reality itself. The implications of such surveillance capabilities had not been lost on military planners, who viewed the specials as both invaluable assets and potential security risks. "The energy requirements are substantial," Marcus continued, "but they are drawn from sources that conventional physics does not yet recognize. The human brain, when operating at psionic levels, appears to access zero-point energy fluctuations that exist within the quantum vacuum itself." A second voice interrupted the demonstration. "Marcus makes it sound more complicated than it actually is," Sarah Kim said as she joined them in the common area. The former combat veteran moved with the fluid grace of someone trained in hand-to-hand fighting, though her abilities extended far beyond physical combat techniques. Where Marcus approached psionic manipulation through theoretical understanding, Sarah relied on instinct and training developed during brutal engagements with cyborg forces. Her spatial rifts opened faster and remained more stable, though she possessed less precise control over their size and duration. "Show her the real demonstration," Sarah suggested, positioning herself across the common area from Marcus. "Theory is useful, but practical application reveals the true scope of our capabilities." The two specials began a coordinated exercise that Dr. Vasquez had witnessed only once before. Marcus opened a spatial rift near the ceiling of the common area, while Sarah created a corresponding tear near the floor. The result was a closed loop that defied conventional understanding of three-dimensional space, creating a localized gravitational anomaly that caused loose objects to orbit the connected rifts. "Combat applications become obvious when you consider the tactical advantages," Sarah explained as the demonstration continued. "Enemy positions become accessible regardless of physical barriers. Supply lines can be established across impossible distances. Strategic assets can be relocated instantaneously." Dr. Vasquez documented the energy readings displayed on her instruments, noting fluctuations that suggested the specials were drawing power from sources that her equipment could not directly measure. The military implications of such capabilities had been extensively analyzed by strategic planning committees, though the psychological consequences of wielding such power remained less well understood. David Rodriguez emerged from his quarters as the demonstration concluded, his engineering background evident in the methodical way he approached psionic manipulation. Unlike his colleagues, David treated spatial rifts as problems to be solved through systematic analysis rather than intuitive mastery. The structural integrity concerns continue to worry me, David said, examining the residual energy patterns left by the demonstration. Each time we create spatial rifts aboard the ship, we introduce stress factors that could accumulate over time. The hull was not designed to accommodate repeated violations of local space-time. His concerns reflected the ongoing tension between the military value of special capabilities and the engineering challenges they presented. The Redemption represented humanity's most advanced technological achievement, yet its systems remained vulnerable to forces that conventional design philosophy could not anticipate. David, your cautious approach serves us well, Dr. Vasquez acknowledged, but our mission parameters require that we develop practical applications for your abilities. The unknown variables we may encounter at New Eden could necessitate capabilities that conventional military assets cannot provide. As if summoned by the discussion of unknown variables, the fourth member of their group finally made his appearance. Subject 4 entered the common area with deliberate steps, his presence immediately altering the atmosphere in ways that Dr. Vasquez found difficult to quantify. Unlike his colleagues who had volunteered for their roles, Subject 4 had been recruited through circumstances that remained classified. Cyrus Gant possessed the lean build and alert demeanor of someone who had survived in environments where weakness meant death. His eyes carried the hardened look of someone who had witnessed humanity at its worst, while his movements suggested constant readiness for violence or flight. The drug trade that had consumed his youth in Earth's subterranean cities had taught him lessons that no military academy could replicate. Dr. Vasquez, Cyrus said, his voice carrying the distinctive accent of Earth's underground communities. I understand you have questions about how we do what we do. I can tell you that the academic theories and military applications miss the most important aspect of psionic abilities. Vasquez leaned forward, intrigued by this perspective that differed from the technical explanations provided by his colleagues. Please elaborate on what you consider the most important aspect. Cyrus extended his hand and created a spatial rift with obvious effort, the tear appearing smaller and less stable than those demonstrated by Marcus or Sarah. However, the location of his rift was precisely calculated to provide a view of the corridor junction where two security guards were conducting their patrol rounds. Psionic abilities are not just about moving through space or bypassing physical barriers, Cyrus explained. They are about information. When you can see through walls, hear conversations from impossible distances, and move without being detected, you gain advantages that no amount of military hardware can provide. His words revealed the street-smart thinking that had enabled his survival in Earth's criminal underworld. While his colleagues focused on the theoretical implications or combat applications of their abilities, Cyrus understood the intelligence-gathering potential that such capabilities represented. During my years running dust through the underground networks, survival depended on knowing what your enemies were planning before they knew it themselves, Cyrus continued. Information was more valuable than weapons, more important than territory, more crucial than loyalty. These abilities give us access to information that no conventional surveillance system can obtain. Dr. Vasquez recognized the strategic implications of Cyrus's perspective. Intelligence operations conducted by individuals who could bypass physical security measures and observe targets without detection would revolutionize human understanding of any threats they might encounter at New Eden. Your assessment suggests that the value of special abilities extends beyond their immediate tactical applications, she observed. The intelligence-gathering capabilities could prove essential for evaluating potential threats or opportunities in an unknown star system. The four specials exchanged glances, a moment of silent communication that suggested depths of coordination that Dr. Vasquez had not previously recognized. Despite their different backgrounds and approaches to psionic manipulation, they had developed working relationships that enhanced their individual capabilities. There is something else you should understand, Marcus said, his academic composure giving way to a more serious tone. The abilities we demonstrate here represent only a fraction of our true potential. The containment fields and dampening systems aboard the ship limit what we can accomplish. Sarah nodded agreement. In an unrestricted environment, spatial rifts can extend across planetary distances. Combat applications become strategic rather than tactical. The implications for colonization efforts could be transformative. David added his engineering perspective. However, the risks increase proportionally with the scale of our operations. Uncontrolled spatial manipulation could destabilize local spacetime, create gravitational anomalies, or tear rifts that we cannot close. Cyrus provided the final assessment, which means that when we reach New Eden, we will be operating without the safety nets that currently limit our capabilities. Whatever we encounter there will face the full extent of human psionic potential. Dr. Vasquez concluded the session with a growing awareness that the four individuals before her represented something unprecedented in human evolution. Their abilities suggested capabilities that bordered on the supernatural, yet their human origins and motivations remained recognizably familiar. The combination of advanced psionic powers with distinctly human perspectives created possibilities that strategic planners could not fully anticipate. As she prepared to leave the special quarters, Dr. Vasquez reflected on the implications of her research. The journey to New Eden would test not only humanity's technological capabilities, but also its capacity to wisely utilize power that transcended conventional understanding. The four specials would play crucial roles in whatever challenges awaited, their abilities serving as both humanity's greatest asset and its most unpredictable variable. The path ahead remained uncertain, but one conclusion had become clear. The colonization of New Eden would be shaped by forces that conventional military doctrine could not address. The supernatural powers wielded by the specials would determine whether humanity found salvation or destruction among alien stars. Chapter 3. Betrayal. Within the ship. The third week of the journey to New Eden brought with it the subtle rhythms that characterized life aboard a generation ship. The Redemption had settled into operational patterns designed to sustain 40,000 human lives across the vast emptiness between stars. Work shifts rotated with mechanical precision, recreational activities maintained psychological equilibrium, and the ship's advanced life support systems recycled air, water, and organic matter with ruthless efficiency. Cyrus Gant moved through these established routines with the practiced observation skills that had kept him alive during his years in Earth's underground networks. His official role aboard the ship involved maintenance operations in the lower decks, work that granted him access to areas and information streams that most civilians never encountered. The assignment had been deliberate. Military planners recognized that his background in criminal enterprises provided perspective on security vulnerabilities that conventional military thinking might overlook. The maintenance corridors that ran beneath the primary deck structures served as the ship's circulatory system, carrying power conduits, data cables, and atmospheric distribution networks that sustained life throughout the massive vessel. These passages also provided Cyrus with opportunities to observe activities that occurred beyond the scope of official monitoring systems. On this particular morning, routine maintenance checks in Section C7 revealed an anomaly that would have escaped notice by most technicians. The electromagnetic readings in the corridor adjacent to the special quarters showed fluctuations that exceeded normal parameters by margins too small to trigger automated alerts, yet too consistent to represent random variation. Cyrus documented the readings according to standard procedures, but his instincts suggested significance that warranted further investigation. Years of survival in environments where overlooking details meant death had taught him to recognize patterns that others might dismiss as coincidence. The electromagnetic anomalies corresponded with specific time periods during the ship's daily operational cycle. The fluctuations occurred during the third shift, when crew activity reached its minimum levels and most monitoring systems operated in reduced capacity mode. The timing suggested deliberate coordination with periods of minimal surveillance. Further examination revealed that the anomalies originated from the special quarters themselves, specifically from the section assigned to David Rodriguez. The engineering-focused special had consistently demonstrated the most conservative approach to psionic manipulation, emphasizing safety protocols and structural integrity concerns. His apparent involvement in unauthorized activities contradicted his established behavioral patterns. Cyrus initiated discreet inquiries through informal channels, utilizing the network of maintenance personnel, junior officers, and civilian workers who comprise the ship's operational backbone. These individuals possessed access to information and observations that often escaped official attention, creating an intelligence network that paralleled the formal command structure. The investigation revealed disturbing inconsistencies in David Rodriguez's recent activities. Maintenance logs indicated that he had requested access to restricted technical specifications for the ship's jump drive systems, citing research requirements that fell outside his authorized areas of study. Communications records showed encrypted data transmissions from his quarters during periods when such activity violated established protocols. Most troubling were the reports from junior technicians who had observed David in areas of the ship that held no apparent relevance to special operations or research activities. He had been seen near the primary communications array during off-duty periods, examining systems that controlled the ship's contact with Earth and its navigation databases. The pattern of activities suggested preparation for actions that extended beyond legitimate research or authorized special operations. David appeared to be gathering information and establishing capabilities that could compromise the mission's security or alter its fundamental objectives. Cyrus recognized the necessity of reporting his findings through proper channels, yet his experience with institutional hierarchies warned him of potential complications. Military organizations often responded to security concerns with measures that could prove counterproductive when dealing with individuals who possessed capabilities that transcended conventional containment methods. The decision to conduct additional investigation before filing formal reports reflected both caution and recognition that incomplete information could trigger responses that might worsen the situation. David Rodriguez possessed psionic abilities that could enable him to escape conventional security measures or to cause catastrophic damage to the ship's critical systems. The opportunity for direct observation presented itself during the following night shift, when routine maintenance provided legitimate cover for presence in sensitive areas of the ship. Cyrus positioned himself in a monitoring station that offered visual access to the corridor leading to the special quarters, equipped with recording devices that could document whatever activities might occur. The vigil proved productive in ways that exceeded his expectations. At precisely 0300 hours, David Rodriguez emerged from his quarters and proceeded through the ship's corridors with obvious familiarity with security patrol schedules and monitoring system coverage. His movements demonstrated knowledge of the ship's operational patterns that suggested extensive planning and preparation. David's destination proved to be the ship's primary communications center, a heavily secured facility that controlled all external communications and navigation data processing. His method of gaining access involved creating a small spatial rift that bypassed the electronic security systems entirely, demonstrating practical application of psionic abilities for purposes that clearly violated mission protocols. Once inside the communication center, David proceeded to access systems that controlled the ship's quantum entanglement communication array, the technology that maintained contact with Earth across interstellar distances. His activities involved downloading navigation data, communication logs, and strategic planning documents that contained classified information about the mission's objectives and operational parameters. The scope of the information breach suggested purposes that extended far beyond personal curiosity or unauthorized research. David was systematically collecting intelligence that could compromise the entire expedition if transmitted to hostile parties or utilized for unauthorized objectives. Cyrus documented the breach with recording equipment while maintaining his concealed position in the monitoring station. The evidence would provide military authorities with clear proof of security violations, yet the implications of David's actions suggested threats that required immediate attention rather than bureaucratic processing. The situation became exponentially more serious when David's activities revealed contact with external entities. The communication system showed encrypted transmissions that originated from beyond the ship, messages that utilized frequencies and encoding methods that did not correspond to any known human technology or communication protocols. The realization that David Rodriguez was communicating with non-human intelligences transformed a security breach into a potential catastrophe. The implications extended beyond simple betrayal to encompass scenarios that military planners had considered but hoped to avoid. First contact with alien species under circumstances that could compromise humanity's position and objectives. Analysis of the transmission patterns suggested that the alien communications had been ongoing for several weeks, indicating that contact had been established well after the ship's departure from Earth. The timing implied that the alien entities possessed knowledge of the human expedition and had initiated contact for purposes that remained unclear but were certainly unauthorized. David's responses to the alien communications involved providing detailed information about the ship's capabilities, passenger manifest, destination coordinates, and strategic objectives. The intelligence being transmitted could enable hostile alien forces to prepare countermeasures, establish ambush positions, or develop strategies that could neutralize human advantages before the expedition reached New Eden. The emerging picture revealed a betrayal of unprecedented scope and danger. David Rodriguez had not simply violated security protocols. He had potentially compromised the survival prospects of every human being aboard the ship. His actions represented collaboration with alien entities whose motivations and capabilities remained unknown, but whose interest in human activities suggested threats that military planners had not anticipated. Cyrus faced a decision that would determine the course of events for the entire expedition. Standard procedures required reporting security breaches through established channels, yet the unique circumstances surrounding psionic abilities and alien contact suggested that conventional responses might prove inadequate or counterproductive. The documentation of David's activities provided irrefutable evidence of betrayal, yet the question of appropriate response remained complex. Confronting a special who possessed the ability to manipulate space-time required careful planning and coordination with other individuals who could counter his capabilities if necessary. The involvement of alien entities added layers of complexity that extended beyond shipboard security concerns. The communications indicated that humanity's arrival at New Eden would not occur under the circumstances that mission planners had anticipated. Instead, the expedition would face challenges from intelligences that possessed advanced knowledge of human capabilities and objectives. Cyrus concluded his surveillance operation with the recognition that the mission had fundamentally changed. The journey to New Eden would no longer represent humanity's search for a new beginning among uninhabited worlds. Instead, it had become a race against unknown alien forces that possessed capabilities and motivations that could determine the survival or destruction of the human species. The evidence of David Rodriguez's betrayal would require careful handling to prevent triggering responses that could worsen an already dangerous situation. The ship carried 40,000 human lives, whose survival depended on decisions that would be made in the coming hours and days. The path ahead required navigation through threats that exceeded anything in Cyrus's previous experience, yet his skills in reading human motivations and detecting deception would prove essential for understanding the full scope of the betrayal and developing appropriate countermeasures. The revelation that one of humanity's most trusted protectors had become its greatest threat marked a turning point in the expedition to New Eden. The journey that had begun with hope for a new beginning among distant stars now carried the weight of survival against forces that humanity had never imagined. Chapter 4: First Contact with the Creche. The final jump sequence toward New Eden commenced under circumstances that differed fundamentally from those envisioned by the expedition's original mission planners. Commander Sarah Valdez maintained her position on the bridge as the Redemption prepared to emerge from hyperspace, yet the intelligence gathered regarding David Rodriguez's communications with unknown alien entities had transformed what should have been humanity's triumphant arrival into a carefully orchestrated entry into potentially hostile territory. The evidence that Cyrus Gant had provided to Admiral Morrison through discreet channels had precipitated emergency strategy sessions among the ship's senior command staff. The revelation that classified mission parameters had been transmitted to non-human intelligences necessitated fundamental revisions to operational protocols and defensive postures. Admiral Morrison had convened a restricted briefing session that included only those personnel whose security clearances permitted access to information regarding the suspected alien contact. The attendees comprised the ship's senior military leadership, key scientific advisors, and representatives from the Special Operations Division who possessed capabilities that conventional military doctrine could not address. The intelligence provided by our maintenance operations has been verified through multiple analytical frameworks, Admiral Morrison announced to the assembled group. We must proceed under the assumption that our arrival at New Eden will be anticipated by hostile forces whose capabilities and intentions remain undetermined. Dr. Elena Vasquez contributed the scientific perspective that her research into psionic phenomena had revealed. The communication protocols identified in the intercepted transmissions utilize quantum entanglement methods that exceed our current technological capabilities. The alien entities possess advanced understanding of space-time manipulation that suggests technological development beyond human achievements. The strategic implications extended beyond simple technological disadvantage to encompass scenarios where human survival depended upon capabilities that had never been tested under combat conditions. The psionic abilities of the remaining three specials represented potential advantages, yet their effectiveness against unknown alien technologies remained entirely theoretical. Commander Valdez coordinated the tactical preparations that would govern their emergence from hyperspace. The Redemption would exit jump space in a defensive configuration designed to maximize sensor coverage while minimizing exposure to potential threats. All weapon systems had been activated, though the effectiveness of human armaments against alien technologies remained speculative. The ship's sensor arrays had been recalibrated to detect energy signatures and technological artifacts that might indicate alien presence within the New Eden system. The scientific equipment originally designed for planetary survey operations had been repurposed to serve intelligence-gathering functions that could provide early warning of hostile activities. Jump completion in 30 seconds, the navigation officer announced as the final sequence proceeded. All departments report readiness for tactical operations. The transition from hyperspace to normal space occurred with mechanical precision, yet the universe that surrounded the Redemption upon emergence bore no resemblance to the pristine star system that long-range surveys had promised. The New Eden system had been transformed into something that suggested both advanced technological capabilities and ominous strategic preparation. The primary star remained unchanged, its stellar characteristics matching the data that had originally identified New Eden as suitable for human colonization. However, the space surrounding the habitable planets showed clear evidence of extensive artificial construction and technological infrastructure that had not existed during the original survey missions. Massive structures orbited the third planet, installations that dwarfed human engineering achievements, and demonstrated construction techniques that utilized materials and methods beyond current human understanding. The orbital facilities appeared to serve both industrial and military purposes, suggesting technological capabilities that could pose existential threats to human survival. Admiral, we are detecting multiple artificial constructs throughout the system, reported the chief sensor technician. The installations appear to be actively scanning our vessel with methods that our defensive systems cannot fully counteract. The scanning activities indicated that the alien presence possessed sensor technologies that could penetrate human defensive measures and gather detailed intelligence about the ship's capabilities, passenger complement, and strategic resources. The technological disadvantage was immediately apparent and potentially catastrophic. Commander Valdez initiated defensive protocols designed to minimize information exposure while maintaining operational flexibility. All non-essential systems to minimal power, communications blackout except for internal ship operations. Weapon systems to ready status but do not lock targets without direct authorization. The tactical situation deteriorated rapidly as additional sensor readings revealed the scope of alien presence within the New Eden system. The installations were not simply monitoring stations or industrial facilities, but components of an integrated defensive network that could coordinate responses to threats across planetary distances. Contact bearing 270 Mark 15, announced the tactical officer. Multiple vessels approaching at high velocity, configuration unknown but significantly larger than our ship. The approaching vessels represented the first direct visual confirmation of alien technological capabilities. The craft possessed design characteristics that demonstrated engineering principles fundamentally different from human approaches to space travel. Their propulsion systems generated energy signatures that suggested manipulation of gravitational fields rather than conventional reaction drives. Dr. Vasquez observed the alien vessels through the bridge's main display system, analyzing their approach patterns and technological characteristics. The propulsion signatures indicate space-time manipulation capabilities similar to those demonstrated by our specials, but on scales that exceed anything we have achieved. The implications were immediately clear to all present. The alien entities possess technological mastery of the same fundamental forces that gave the specials their extraordinary capabilities, yet their engineering applications suggested centuries or millennia of development beyond human achievements. Admiral Morrison faced decisions that would determine the survival prospects of 40,000 human lives. The tactical situation offered no advantageous options, yet retreat remained impossible given the fuel requirements and navigation complexities involved in returning to Earth. Open communications channels, Admiral Morrison commanded. Transmit standard first contact protocols. We will attempt diplomatic engagement while maintaining defensive readiness. The communications attempt produced immediate results, though not the diplomatic dialogue that human protocols anticipated. The alien response arrived in the form of electromagnetic transmissions that utilized the same quantum entanglement methods identified in David Rodriguez's unauthorized communications. The message content demonstrated both advanced understanding of human language and troubling knowledge of the expedition's classified objectives. The aliens identified themselves as representatives of the Kresh hegemony, a political entity that claimed territorial authority over the New Eden system and surrounding stellar regions. Human vessel redemption. Your arrival has been anticipated based on intelligence provided by your own kind, the transmission stated with clinical precision. Your mission objectives conflict with Kresh territorial claims and established security protocols. You will submit to inspection and interrogation procedures that will determine your ultimate disposition. The reference to intelligence provided by human sources confirmed the worst implications of David Rodriguez's betrayal. The Kresh possessed detailed information about the expedition's capabilities, objectives, and strategic vulnerabilities that had been transmitted by the compromised special. Commander Valdez coordinated tactical responses while maintaining the appearance of compliance with Kresh demands. The ship's defensive systems remained active, yet the technological disadvantage suggested that direct confrontation would result in catastrophic defeat. Admiral, additional contacts emerging from concealment, reported the sensor technician. We are surrounded by vessels that were previously undetectable. Estimated fleet strength exceeds 50 combat units. The revelation that Kresh forces had remained concealed until achieving optimal tactical positioning demonstrated both technological superiority and strategic sophistication that exceeded human military capabilities. The aliens had prepared an ambush based on intelligence that David Rodriguez had provided about human approach vectors and operational procedures. The Kresh fleet began coordinated movements that clearly indicated preparation for boarding operations rather than immediate destruction of the human vessel. The tactical approach suggested objectives that required preservation of the ship and its occupants for purposes that remained unclear but were certainly unwelcome. They intend to capture us, Admiral Morrison concluded after analyzing the alien formation patterns. Their interest in interrogation suggests intelligence requirements that extend beyond what David Rodriguez has already provided. Dr. Vasquez offered analysis based on her understanding of the intercepted communications. The Kresh transmissions indicate specific interest in Earth's location and defensive capabilities. They view our expedition as preliminary reconnaissance for larger human expansion efforts. The strategic implications extended far beyond the immediate threat to the Redemption and its passengers. The Kresh apparently regarded human space exploration as precursor activity to territorial expansion that could threaten their established dominion over local stellar regions. Kresh vessels are deploying boarding craft, Commander Valdez announced as the tactical situation continued to deteriorate. Multiple approach vectors suggest coordinated assault on all major ship sections simultaneously. The boarding craft demonstrated the same technological advantages that characterized other Kresh capabilities. Their approach methods suggested ability to bypass human defensive systems through manipulation of space-time that would deliver assault forces directly into critical ship areas. Admiral Morrison activated emergency protocols that would coordinate resistance efforts while preserving essential personnel and equipment. The ship's monitor units received authorization for defensive engagement, their genetically enhanced capabilities representing the most effective resistance assets available under the circumstances. All personnel to emergency stations, Admiral Morrison announced throughout the ship. We are being boarded by hostile alien forces. Implement survival protocols and prepare for extended resistance operations. The first Kresh boarding craft penetrated the ship's hull through methods that bypassed conventional defensive barriers entirely. The alien assault forces that emerged demonstrated both technological sophistication and physical capabilities that posed formidable challenges to human resistance efforts. The Kresh possessed reptilian characteristics that suggested evolutionary development in environments significantly different from Earth's biosphere. Their natural armor provided protection against human weapons, while their advanced equipment demonstrated technological capabilities that exceeded human engineering achievements by substantial margins. Cyrus Gant observed the initial stages of the alien assault from his position in the maintenance sections, recognizing that his skills in avoiding detection and gathering intelligence would prove more valuable than direct confrontation with technologically superior forces. The battle for control of the Redemption had begun under circumstances that fulfilled the worst-case scenarios that military planners had hoped to avoid. The journey to New Eden had delivered humanity into the hands of alien forces whose capabilities and intentions represented existential threats to human survival. The revelation that David Rodriguez's betrayal had enabled this catastrophic ambush added personal betrayal to strategic disaster, creating conditions where human survival depended upon resources and capabilities that had never been tested against such overwhelming opposition. Net. Chapter 5. Torture and Escape. The interrogation facilities aboard the primary Kresh Command vessel represented technological capabilities that combined advanced scientific understanding with systematic approaches to extracting information from captured subjects. The aliens had transported key personnel from the Redemption to specialized chambers designed to overcome human psychological and physiological resistance through methods that exceeded conventional torture techniques. Admiral Morrison found himself secured within a containment system that utilized both physical restraints and electromagnetic fields calibrated to disrupt human neural activity. The Kresh interrogation methods involved direct interface with human nervous systems, enabling access to memories and information that traditional questioning techniques could not obtain. Dr. Elena Vasquez occupied an adjacent chamber where alien scientists conducted detailed analysis of human physiology and psychological structures. The Kresh demonstrated particular interest in her research into psionic phenomena, recognizing that human supernatural abilities represented potential threats to their technological advantages. Commander Sarah Valdez had been separated from the other senior officers and subjected to interrogation procedures specifically designed to extract tactical and strategic information about human military capabilities. The aliens possessed sophisticated understanding of military organizational structures that enabled them to identify key personnel and prioritize intelligence requirements. The Kresh interrogation techniques involved technological systems that could access human memory structures directly, bypassing conscious resistance and exposing information that subjects attempted to conceal. The process proved both physically painful and psychologically devastating, yet the aliens pursued their intelligence requirements with systematic determination. The location of your species' origin world remains our primary intelligence objective, stated the Kresh interrogation specialist assigned to Admiral Morrison's case. The aliens' communication occurred through technological interfaces that translated thoughts directly into comprehensible language. Your resistance serves no strategic purpose and only prolongs necessary procedures. The primary focus of Kresh intelligence requirements centered on obtaining precise navigational coordinates for Earth's location within the galaxy. The information that David Rodriguez had provided during his unauthorized communications had included general strategic data, but lacked the specific details necessary for the aliens to locate and target humanity's homeworld. Admiral Morrison recognized that providing Earth's coordinates would enable Kresh forces to launch preemptive strikes against a planet whose defensive capabilities could not withstand the technological advantages that the aliens possessed. The survival of human civilization depended upon maintaining the secrecy of Earth's location regardless of personal consequences. The interrogation procedures revealed that the creche possessed extensive experience in extracting information from various species that had encountered their expanding territorial claims. The technological systems they employed demonstrated refinements developed through encounters with numerous alien civilizations whose resistance efforts had ultimately proven unsuccessful. Dr. Vasquez endured procedures specifically designed to understand human psionic capabilities and their potential applications in combat situations. The creche demonstrated considerable concern about the abilities possessed by the specials, recognizing that space-time manipulation capabilities could pose significant threats to their strategic advantages. Your species' development of psionic abilities represents an evolutionary anomaly that requires comprehensive analysis, explained the creche scientist conducting her interrogation. Our evaluation procedures will determine the scope of these capabilities and identify appropriate countermeasures. The alien interest in human psionic abilities suggested that the creche had not encountered similar supernatural capabilities in their previous territorial expansions. The uniqueness of human evolutionary development provided potential advantages that could prove crucial for survival under current circumstances. Commander Valdez faced interrogation procedures focused on extracting detailed information about human military organization, technological capabilities, and strategic doctrines. The creche possessed sophisticated understanding of military structures that enabled them to identify critical intelligence requirements and apply pressure accordingly. The systematic approach to information extraction demonstrated that the creche intended to utilize captured intelligence for strategic purposes that extended beyond the immediate situation. Their interest in Earth's defensive capabilities and military resources suggested preparation for large-scale operations against human civilization. Meanwhile, Cyrus Gant remained aboard the captured Redemption, utilizing his skills in avoiding detection to observe creche operations and identify potential vulnerabilities in their security procedures. His experience in criminal enterprises had taught him to recognize patterns in organizational behavior that could be exploited for escape or sabotage purposes. The creche occupation forces had established control over critical ship systems while maintaining minimal personnel presence in areas deemed non-essential to their immediate objectives. Their confidence in technological superiority had led to security procedures that relied heavily on automated systems rather than physical surveillance. Cyrus identified several factors that could be exploited to create opportunities for resistance operations. The creche demonstrated unfamiliarity with human psychological patterns and social structures that differed from their own hierarchical organization. Their security protocols assumed compliance patterns that did not account for human unpredictability and adaptability. The maintenance corridors that Cyrus knew intimately provided access to ship systems that the creche had not completely secured. Their understanding of human technology remained incomplete despite their overall technological advantages, creating opportunities for sabotage operations that could disrupt their control over ship functions. The remaining specials aboard the Redemption had been secured in containment systems designed to suppress their psionic abilities, yet the alien suppression technology proved less effective than anticipated. Marcus Chen and Sarah Kim retained limited capabilities that could be coordinated for escape operations if appropriate opportunities arose. Cyrus initiated contact with the remaining specials through maintenance communication channels that the creche monitoring systems had not identified. The informal networks that connected ship operations personnel provided pathways for coordination that bypassed alien surveillance capabilities. The interrogation procedures are designed to extract Earth's coordinates, Cyrus communicated through coded messages that utilized maintenance protocols. We must create opportunities for escape before they obtain information that could compromise human civilization. Marcus Chen responded with analysis of creche containment systems based on his observations of their suppression technology. The alien systems utilize quantum field manipulation to disrupt psionic abilities, but their understanding of human neural structures contains exploitable gaps. Sarah Kim contributed tactical assessment based on her military experience and limited observation of creche security procedures. Their personnel deployment patterns suggest vulnerability to coordinated attacks that exploit their reliance on technological systems rather than physical security measures. The development of escape plans required coordination between personnel with different capabilities and access to various ship systems. Cyrus possessed detailed knowledge of maintenance systems and security vulnerabilities, while the Specials retained limited supernatural abilities that could prove decisive under appropriate circumstances. The escape operation commenced during a shift change in Kresh personnel assignments, a period when their surveillance capabilities reached minimum effectiveness. Cyrus utilized maintenance access routes to reach the containment areas where the Specials were held, carrying improvised equipment designed to disrupt alien suppression systems. The liberation of Marcus Chen and Sarah Kim required precise timing and coordination to avoid triggering automated security responses that would alert Kresh forces throughout the ship. The operation succeeded through exploitation of gaps in alien understanding of human technology and behavioral patterns. Once freed from containment, the Specials could apply their psionic abilities to create tactical advantages that the Kresh had not anticipated. Marcus generated spatial rifts that provided access to secure areas of the ship, while Sarah utilized her combat training to neutralize alien personnel through methods that their technology could not counter. The coordinated escape operation expanded to include liberation of other human personnel and establishment of resistance operations in areas of the ship that remained under minimal Kresh control. The aliens' confidence in their technological superiority had created vulnerabilities that determined human resistance could exploit. Cyrus coordinated communications with personnel aboard the Kresh command vessel, utilizing quantum entanglement systems that the aliens employed for their own communications. The hijacking of their communication networks provided opportunities to disrupt interrogation procedures and coordinate rescue operations. The rescue of Admiral Morrison, Dr. Vasquez, and Commander Valdez required precise execution of operations that combined psionic abilities with conventional tactics and exploitation of alien technological vulnerabilities. The success of these operations depended upon maintaining tactical surprise until human personnel could be extracted from Kresh custody. The escape from immediate Kresh control represented only the first phase of survival operations that would determine whether humanity could avoid complete destruction. The aliens possessed overwhelming technological advantages and strategic positions that made continued resistance extremely challenging. However, the successful coordination of escape operations demonstrated that human adaptability and resourcefulness could create opportunities even under the most disadvantageous circumstances. The combination of street-smart intelligence gathering, supernatural psionic abilities, and military tactical expertise provided capabilities that Kresh strategic planning had not anticipated. The immediate survival of key human personnel created possibilities for continued resistance and potential escape from the New Eden system. Yet the broader strategic situation remained desperate, with human civilization facing threats that exceeded anything in recorded history. The escape operations had revealed both human potential for resistance and the enormous scope of challenges that lay ahead. The journey to New Eden had delivered humanity into circumstances that would test every capability and resource that the species possessed. Chapter 6: The Terraformed Moon and Primitive Humans. The escape pod's impact with the surface of Kresh Moon 7 occurred under conditions that exceeded the emergency vessel's design specifications by considerable margins. Cyrus Gant regained consciousness within the twisted wreckage of systems that had protected him through atmospheric entry and subsequent collision with terrain that bore no resemblance to the barren satellite that stellar surveys had documented decades earlier. The Moon's transformation represented one of the most comprehensive terraforming projects that human science had ever encountered. The Kresh had fundamentally altered atmospheric composition, surface geography, and biological systems to create an environment that could sustain complex life forms. The scope of these modifications demonstrated technological capabilities that operated on planetary scales across timeframes that spanned centuries or millennia. Cyrus extracted himself from the damaged escape pod and assessed both his immediate situation and the alien environment that would determine his survival prospects. The atmospheric readings indicated breathable air with oxygen concentrations suitable for human physiology, yet the chemical signatures suggested biological processes that differed significantly from Earth's natural systems. The landscape surrounding his crash site revealed careful engineering designed to optimize both aesthetic and functional characteristics. Rolling hills covered with vegetation that resembled Earth species, yet possessed subtle differences in structure and coloration extended toward mountain ranges that have been carved and shaped according to deliberate architectural principles. The plant life demonstrated characteristics that suggested genetic modification programs intended to serve specific purposes within the terraformed ecosystem. Trees grew in geometric patterns that optimized light distribution and resource utilization, while ground cover maintained consistent density and composition that indicated systematic cultivation rather than natural evolution. Water resources appeared abundant throughout the visible terrain, with streams and lakes positioned according to hydrological engineering that maximized distribution efficiency while creating environments suitable for diverse biological communities. The water management systems represented infrastructure projects that required technological capabilities far exceeding human engineering achievements. The absence of visible technological installations suggested that creche terraforming methods had achieved integration between artificial systems and natural processes that eliminated the distinction between engineered and organic components. The moon had been transformed into a self-sustaining biosphere that maintained optimal conditions through mechanisms that remained hidden within the environmental systems themselves. Cyrus initiated systematic exploration of his immediate surroundings, utilizing survival skills developed during his years in Earth's underground networks, where resource scarcity and hostile environments had demanded constant adaptation. The techniques that had enabled survival in urban wilderness proved applicable to the challenges presented by an alien-engineered ecosystem. The first evidence of human presence appeared during his initial reconnaissance operations. Footprints in the soft soil near a stream indicated bipedal creatures with anatomical characteristics consistent with human physiology, yet the pattern suggested individuals who moved through the environment with familiarity that indicated permanent residence rather than recent arrival. Further investigation revealed additional signs of human habitation, including tool marks on vegetation, fire sites that showed regular use, and pathways that connected various locations according to established travel patterns. The evidence suggested a stable population that had adapted to the terraformed environment and developed sustainable survival strategies. The encounter with actual inhabitants occurred during Cyrus's second day of exploration, when his movement through a forested area attracted the attention of individuals who had been observing his activities from concealed positions. The initial contact demonstrated both caution and curiosity that characterized intelligent assessment of potential threats and opportunities. The humans who emerged from concealment possessed physical characteristics that clearly identified them as members of the same species, yet their appearance and behavior patterns suggested significant cultural and technological divergence from contemporary human civilization. Their clothing consisted of materials derived from local biological resources, while their tools demonstrated sophisticated understanding of available materials despite apparent lack of advanced technological systems. Their leader, a woman whose bearing suggested authority earned through practical competence rather than formal appointment, approached with deliberate movements that communicated both confidence and readiness for defensive action if circumstances required. Her initial communications occurred through gestures and vocalizations that utilized basic human linguistic structures yet incorporated elements that reflected adaptation to local conditions. "You are not creche," she stated after a careful examination of Cyrus's appearance and equipment. "Your arrival was observed from the sky. Your vessel brought fire and noise that announced your presence throughout this region." Her command of recognizable language indicated that these primitive humans maintained connection to broader human linguistic traditions despite their apparent isolation from advanced technological civilization. The preservation of communication capabilities suggested deliberate maintenance of cultural continuity across extended periods. Cyrus responded with explanations of his circumstances that emphasized both his human identity and his need for assistance in navigating the challenges presented by an unfamiliar environment. His approach utilized diplomatic techniques learned during negotiations with various criminal organizations, emphasizing mutual benefit rather than requests for charity. "My name is Cyrus Gant, and I arrived here through circumstances beyond my control," he explained. I possess information and capabilities that could prove valuable to your community in exchange for assistance with survival and orientation within this environment. The woman identified herself as Vera Thorne, a designation that suggested retention of human naming conventions despite cultural adaptations required by local conditions. Her response indicated interest in potential mutual benefit, while maintaining caution appropriate to encounters with unknown individuals whose motivations remained unverified. The community that Vera represented had established a settlement within the forested region that demonstrated sophisticated understanding of available resources and environmental challenges. Their habitations utilized construction techniques that integrated natural materials with engineering principles that maximized structural integrity while maintaining harmony with the surrounding ecosystem. The settlement population comprised several hundred individuals representing multiple generations who had adapted to life within the creche-engineered environment. Their social organization reflected practical requirements for survival and resource management, rather than formal governmental structures, yet maintained coordination and decision-making processes that enabled effective community function. Cyrus learned that these humans had been transported to the moon through circumstances that paralleled his own experience, but had occurred across extended timeframes spanning several decades. The creche had utilized human populations for various experimental purposes that included assessment of human adaptability to modified environmental conditions. The primitive humans had developed survival strategies that utilized both their retained human intelligence and careful observation of the terraformed ecosystem's characteristics. Their understanding of local biological systems enabled them to identify food sources, predict weather patterns, and avoid environmental hazards that could threaten survival. Their relationship with the creche involved periodic contact that served the aliens' research requirements while maintaining minimal interference with human community development. The creche appeared to regard the human settlement as a long-term experiment in species adaptation, rather than a population requiring active management or control. Vera provided essential information about the broader context within which the human community existed. The moon served as one component of an extensive creche research program that utilized multiple worlds and environmental configurations to assess various aspects of alien and indigenous species behavior under controlled conditions. The creche transported humans to this place from various locations throughout their territorial domains, Vera explained during discussions around the community's central fire. Some arrived through circumstances similar to yours, while others represent populations captured during territorial expansion operations. The revelation that creche territorial expansion involved systematic capture and relocation of human populations provided disturbing insights into alien strategic objectives that extended beyond the immediate threats facing the redemption expedition. The creche apparently viewed humanity as a species suitable for various experimental purposes, rather than as equals deserving diplomatic consideration. Cyrus shared information about the circumstances that had led to his arrival, including details about the expedition to New Eden and the betrayal that had enabled creche forces to capture the human starship. His account provided the settlement community with intelligence about broader strategic situations that affected their long-term survival prospects. The community's response to this information revealed both resignation to circumstances beyond their control and determination to maintain human dignity despite their captive status. Their adaptation to local conditions had produced cultural modifications that preserved essential human characteristics while accommodating environmental requirements. The practical knowledge that community members had developed regarding survival within the terraformed environment proved essential for Cyrus's continued existence. Their understanding of edible plants, water purification methods, shelter construction techniques, and hazard avoidance enabled him to transition from emergency survival mode to sustainable operation within the alien ecosystem. The community's social structure included individuals whose backgrounds provided valuable perspective on broader human experiences within creche territorial domains. Former military personnel, scientists, engineers, and civilians from various worlds contributed knowledge that enhanced collective understanding of alien capabilities and strategic objectives. Among the most significant intelligence that Cyrus obtained concerned reports of other human populations throughout the creche territorial empire, including references to individuals whose descriptions suggested possession of supernatural abilities similar to those demonstrated by the specials aboard the Redemption. There are stories of humans who possess capabilities that exceed normal limitations, explained Marcus Webb, a former engineer whose technical background enabled him to serve as the community's primary toolmaker. These individuals are said to move through space in ways that defy understanding and to influence events through methods that appear impossible. The references to humans with extraordinary capabilities provided hope that other specials might have survived capture or that similar individuals existed within the broader human populations held by Kresh forces. The possibility of locating and coordinating with such individuals offered potential advantages for resistance operations against alien control. Cyrus recognized that his survival and eventual escape from Kresh custody would require resources and capabilities that exceeded what individual effort could accomplish. The primitive human community provided essential support for immediate survival, yet broader objectives would necessitate coordination with individuals who possess capabilities that could challenge Kresh technological advantages. The settlement's location within the terraformed environment offered both protection and limitation. The Kresh monitoring systems maintained surveillance over human activities, yet appeared to operate according to protocols that permitted considerable autonomy in daily operations. The balance between observation and interference suggested alien objectives that required preservation of authentic human behavioral patterns. The information that Cyrus gathered during his integration into the settlement community revealed patterns of Kresh operation that provided insights into potential vulnerabilities and opportunities for resistance. The aliens' confidence in their technological superiority had created systematic blind spots that determined human action might exploit. The terraformed moon represented both prison and sanctuary, an environment that could sustain human life while serving alien research objectives. Cyrus's presence had introduced new variables into established patterns, creating possibilities for developments that Kresh planners might not have anticipated. The community that had provided him refuge would play crucial roles in whatever actions he might undertake to challenge Kresh control and pursue broader objectives related to human survival and resistance. Their knowledge, resources, and commitment to human dignity provided foundations upon which more ambitious operations could be constructed. Chapter 7, The Search for Klain, the Prophesied Child. The intelligence that would transform Cyrus Gant's survival mission into a desperate quest for humanity's salvation emerged during his third week among the primitive human settlement on the terraformed moon. Elder Thomas Meridian, the community's keeper of oral traditions and historical knowledge, revealed information that had been carefully preserved across decades of captivity under Kresh oversight. Thomas possessed memories that extended back to the earliest days of human presence on the moon, when initial population groups had included individuals whose backgrounds and circumstances differed significantly from the general pattern of captured colonists and exploration crews. Among these exceptional cases had been refugees from a failed Kresh experiment involving human subjects who demonstrated extraordinary psionic capabilities. The Kresh conducted research programs designed to enhance and control supernatural abilities in various species, Thomas explained during a private consultation conducted away from the community's central gathering areas. Their experiments with human subjects produced results that exceeded their expectations and ultimately threatened their control over the research program. The failed experiment had resulted in the production of human subjects whose psionic capabilities surpassed anything that Kresh scientists had anticipated or designed their containment systems to manage. The most significant outcome of this research had been a child whose abilities demonstrated potential that terrified even the technologically advanced alien researchers. The child was designated as Research Subject Klain during the experimental programs, Thomas continued. His capabilities included not only spatial manipulation but also temporal perception and probability alteration that approached levels of power typically associated with cosmic-scale phenomena rather than individual biological entities. The description of Klain's abilities suggested evolutionary development that exceeded the capabilities demonstrated by the specials aboard the Redemption by orders of magnitude. If accurate, the child represented potential for resistance against Kresh technological advantages that could fundamentally alter the strategic balance between human and alien forces. Thomas possessed detailed knowledge of the circumstances surrounding Klane's capture and subsequent containment because refugees from the failed experiment had provided first-hand accounts of events that the creche had attempted to suppress. These witnesses had described both the child's extraordinary demonstrations of power and the extreme security measures that the aliens had implemented to prevent his escape or rescue. Ancient human prophecies speak of individuals who would emerge during periods of existential crisis to guide the species through challenges that threatened complete extinction, Thomas noted. Whether these prophecies represent genuine prescient knowledge or coincidental correlation with current circumstances remains debatable, yet Klane's capabilities align remarkably with predicted characteristics. The prophecies in question had originated from various human cultures across different historical periods, yet demonstrated consistent themes regarding individuals who possess supernatural abilities that would prove decisive during humanity's most desperate struggles for survival. The remarkable consistency of these predictions across diverse cultural contexts suggested either shared archetypal knowledge or authentic prophetic insight. Cyrus recognized that the information provided by Thomas represented both extraordinary opportunity and potentially catastrophic risk. Attempting to locate and rescue an individual whose abilities could determine humanity's survival prospects justified almost any level of personal danger, yet the security measures surrounding Klane's containment would certainly exceed anything that conventional rescue operations could overcome. The strategic implications extended beyond immediate survival concerns to encompass scenarios where human civilization's continued existence depended upon capabilities that only Klane potentially possessed. The technological advantages that gave creche forces overwhelming superiority over human resistance efforts might prove insufficient against supernatural abilities that operated according to principles that transcended conventional physics. Thomas provided intelligence regarding Klane's current location that had been gathered through informal networks connecting various human populations throughout the creche territorial domains. The child remained confined within a specialized research facility located on the primary world of the New Eden system, where alien scientists continued experiments designed to understand and potentially control his extraordinary capabilities. The facility represents the most advanced containment technology that creche science has developed, Thomas warned. Multiple redundant security systems utilize both technological and psionic suppression methods calibrated specifically to counter Klane's demonstrated abilities. Previous rescue attempts by other human groups have resulted in complete failure and severe consequences for the participants. The description of failed rescue operations provided sobering context for the challenges that any attempt to reach Klane would encounter. The creche had utilized their experience with previous human resistance efforts to develop countermeasures that specifically targeted the tactics and capabilities that rescue operations typically employed. Cyrus faced a fundamental decision that would determine not only his personal survival prospects but potentially the fate of human civilization itself. The logical choice involved focusing on escape from creche custody and return to human-controlled space where his intelligence about alien capabilities and strategic intentions could inform broader resistance efforts. However, the possibility that Klane represented humanity's only realistic hope for survival against overwhelming alien technological advantages created moral imperatives that transcended rational risk assessment. The failure to attempt Klane's rescue might condemn the human species to extinction regardless of whatever other resistance efforts might be undertaken. The practical challenges associated with reaching the primary world research facility appeared almost insurmountable given the resources and capabilities available to someone in Cyrus's current circumstances. The facility's location within the most heavily defended system in creche space meant that approach would require bypassing multiple layers of surveillance and security that had been specifically designed to prevent exactly the type of operation he contemplated. Thomas contributed additional intelligence that suggested potential approaches to the seemingly impossible rescue mission. The informal networks connecting human populations included individuals whose positions within creche operations provided access to transportation systems, facility layouts, and security procedures that could enable coordinated infiltration operations. There are humans who have gained positions of limited trust within creche organizational structures, Thomas explained. Their circumstances result from various factors including technical expertise that the aliens find valuable, psychological profiles that suggest reliability, or simply extended periods of apparent compliance that have reduced security oversight. The identification of potential collaborators within creche operations provided hope that rescue operations might prove feasible despite the apparent impossibility of the challenges involved. Human intelligence and adaptability had consistently demonstrated capacity for developing solutions to problems that conventional analysis suggested were unsolvable. Cyrus initiated discrete inquiries through the communication networks that connected human populations across the terraformed moon and beyond. The message systems that had evolved to coordinate resistance activities could potentially be utilized to establish contact with individuals whose positions might enable them to contribute to rescue operations. The responses to his initial communications revealed a complex underground organization that had developed over decades of human presence within creche territorial domains. The network included former military personnel, technical specialists, civilian leaders, and individuals whose supernatural abilities had enabled them to maintain operational capability despite alien surveillance and control measures. Among the most significant contacts that Cyrus established was Elena Santos, a former communications technician whose position within a creche transportation facility provided access to shipping schedules, cargo manifests, and personnel movement logs that could enable unauthorized travel between worlds within the system. The transportation systems utilize both automated and supervised protocols that create opportunities for experienced infiltrators who understand creche operational patterns, Elena explained during encrypted communication sessions. The aliens' confidence in their technological security measures has created blind spots that determined human action can exploit. Elena's intelligence revealed that supply shipments to the research facility followed predictable schedules that included periods when security oversight reached minimum levels. The transportation vessels employed containment systems designed for various types of cargo that could potentially conceal human infiltrators during transit operations. Additional contacts included Dr. James Mitchell, a xenobiologist whose research value to creche scientific programs had earned him limited access to facility layouts and security procedures. His position enabled him to provide detailed intelligence about the specific containment systems used to suppress Klane's psionic abilities and the operational schedules that governed research activities. The containment technology utilizes quantum field manipulation that creates isolation barriers around subjects with supernatural abilities, Dr. Mitchell reported. However, the systems require periodic maintenance cycles that temporarily reduce suppression effectiveness. These maintenance windows represent potential opportunities for individuals whose capabilities exceed normal human limitations. The intelligence gathered through the underground network revealed that a coordinated rescue operation might prove feasible if properly planned and executed with precise timing. The combination of transportation access, facility intelligence, and maintenance schedule information provided the foundation for operational planning that could potentially overcome the security measures protecting Klane. However, the development of practical rescue plans required capabilities that exceeded what Cyrus could accomplish through individual effort. The operation would necessitate coordination between multiple individuals whose specialized skills and access could contribute to overcoming the various challenges that the mission would encounter. The recruitment of operational team members involved identifying individuals whose backgrounds, capabilities, and motivations aligned with the extraordinary risks and requirements associated with infiltrating the most secure facility in creche space. Each potential participant represented both essential capability and additional security risk that could compromise the entire operation. Marcus Sterling, a former Special Forces operative whose unit had been captured during early human encounters with creche forces, possessed tactical expertise and leadership experience that could prove crucial for coordinating complex infiltration operations. His survival through extended periods of creche custody had demonstrated both physical and psychological resilience that qualified him for high-risk missions. Sarah Chen, a communications specialist whose technical background enabled her to interface with alien technology systems, could provide the electronic warfare capabilities necessary for bypassing security protocols and maintaining coordination during operational phases. Her understanding of both human and creche technology offered unique advantages for overcoming integrated defense systems. The most critical team member proved to be David Park, a human who had demonstrated limited psionic abilities that Kresh suppression systems had failed to completely neutralize. His supernatural capabilities, while significantly less developed than those of trained specials, could provide essential advantages during phases of the operation that required bypassing containment systems designed to suppress human psionic abilities. The operational planning process revealed both the potential feasibility and enormous risks associated with attempting Klane's rescue. Success would require precise coordination of multiple complex elements, including transportation infiltration, facility penetration, containment system neutralization, and extraction procedures that could overcome pursuit by technologically superior forces. Failure would result not only in the death or capture of team members, but also in the exposure of underground networks that had required decades to establish. The consequences of unsuccessful rescue attempts would extend far beyond immediate operational losses to encompass the destruction of resistance capabilities that other human populations depended upon for survival. Cyrus recognized that the decision to proceed with rescue operations represented a fundamental choice between rational survival strategies and desperate hope for transformative capabilities that might not exist or might prove insufficient to justify the risks involved. The weight of potential consequences for human civilization created moral imperatives that transcended personal survival considerations. The intelligence, resources, and personnel that had been assembled provided the foundation for an operation that possessed realistic prospects for success despite the overwhelming challenges involved. The combination of underground network capabilities, technical expertise, and limited supernatural abilities created possibilities that Kresh security planners might not have anticipated. The final decision to proceed with the rescue mission reflected both calculated assessment of operational feasibility and recognition that humanity's survival prospects might depend upon capabilities that only Klane potentially possessed. The choice between escape and rescue represented the difference between preserving individual survival and pursuing species-level salvation through desperate action that could determine the ultimate fate of human civilization. Chapter 8: The Three-Way Alliance and New Threats. The strategic situation within the New Eden system underwent fundamental transformation during the fourth week following the capture of the human expedition. Intelligence gathered through underground resistance networks revealed the emergence of additional hostile forces whose presence created complex multi-party conflicts that threatened to overwhelm human survival prospects entirely. Dr. James Mitchell transmitted emergency communications through encrypted channels that connected various human populations throughout Kresh territorial domains. His position within alien scientific facilities provided access to strategic intelligence regarding developments that Kresh command structures considered classified at the highest operational levels. Multiple alien fleets have entered the New Eden system, Dr. Mitchell reported during a secured transmission to Cyrus and the Rescue Operation Planning Committee. The new arrivals demonstrate technological capabilities that differ significantly from Kresh systems, yet appear equally advanced and potentially more aggressive in their strategic approaches. The first of these new threats identified itself as representatives of the Chur collective, a species whose evolutionary development had produced insectile characteristics combined with technological achievements that rivaled or exceeded Kresh capabilities. The Chur possessed organizational structures based on hive mind principles that enabled coordination of military operations across scales that individual-based species could not match. Preliminary assessment of Chur military capabilities revealed technological approaches that emphasized biological engineering rather than the mechanical systems that characterized both human and Kresh technologies. Their vessels appeared to be grown rather than constructed, utilizing organic materials that possess properties that conventional analysis could not adequately explain. The Chur fleet that entered New Eden space comprised several hundred vessels, whose size and configuration suggested military capabilities designed for large-scale territorial conquest operations. Their approach patterns indicated strategic coordination that treated the human expedition, Kresh forces, and system resources as components of a comprehensive acquisition operation rather than isolated tactical targets. Communications intercepts revealed that the Chur possessed detailed intelligence regarding both human capabilities and Kresh territorial claims within the New Eden system. Their arrival timing suggested coordination with other strategic developments that indicated broader patterns of territorial expansion throughout this region of galactic space. The second major threat emerged from an unexpected source that complicated human strategic calculations in ways that conventional military planning had not anticipated. Reconnaissance operations identified vessels and personnel that demonstrated characteristics clearly indicating human origin, yet whose operational patterns suggested allegiance to forces that opposed rather than supported human colonial objectives. Elena Santos provided crucial intelligence regarding these human-appearing forces through her position within Kresh transportation networks. Her access to cargo manifests and personnel movement logs revealed systematic coordination between various alien species and human groups whose technological capabilities exceeded anything that conventional human civilization had achieved. The human forces demonstrate cybernetic modifications that appear to integrate biological and mechanical systems in ways that surpass even Kresh technological achievements, Elena reported during emergency communications with the Resistance Network coordinators. Their capabilities suggest evolutionary development that has progressed far beyond normal human limitations. Analysis of intercepted communications and tactical observations revealed that these enhanced humans identified themselves as representatives of the Cyborg Collective, a political entity that had emerged from previous human encounters with advanced alien technologies. Their modifications included both technological augmentation and biological alterations that enabled capabilities that conventional human physiology could not support. The Cyborg Collective possessed detailed knowledge of human psychological patterns, cultural structures, and technological capabilities that enabled them to anticipate and counter resistance strategies that other alien species might not recognize. Their understanding of human tactical doctrine created vulnerabilities in resistance operations that conventional security measures could not address. The most disturbing aspect of Cyborg Collective presence involved their stated objectives regarding human populations within Kresh territorial domains. Communications intercepts revealed intentions to acquire human subjects for assimilation processes that would expand their collective capabilities while eliminating human populations that refused integration into their technological hierarchy. The emergence of three distinct hostile forces within the New Eden system created strategic complications that exceeded the planning assumptions that had guided human colonial operations and resistance activities. Each faction possessed unique advantages and objectives that created potential for conflicts between alien forces while simultaneously threatening human survival through different mechanisms. Kresh forces maintained their established objectives focused on intelligence gathering regarding Earth's location and defensive capabilities. Their systematic approach to information extraction continued to pose fundamental threats to human civilization through potential compromise of homeworld security, yet their strategic interests remained predictable and focused on specific intelligence requirements. Collective operations demonstrated broader territorial acquisition objectives that treated the New Eden system as one component of large-scale expansion programs. Their biological approach to technology and hive mind organizational structure created threats that differed qualitatively from those posed by individual-based species. Yet their focus on territorial control rather than species-specific targeting provided potential opportunities for negotiation or strategic manipulation. The Cyborg Collective represented the most complex threat because their human origins provided them with detailed understanding of human capabilities and vulnerabilities, while their technological modifications enabled them to exploit this knowledge through means that conventional human resistance could not effectively counter. Their assimilation objectives created existential threats that allowed no compromise or accommodation. Cyrus Gant coordinated emergency strategy sessions with the Rescue Operation Planning Committee to assess the implications of these new threats for the mission to extract Klain from Kresh custody. The presence of multiple hostile forces created both additional obstacles and potential opportunities that required fundamental revision of operational planning. Marcus Sterling contributed tactical analysis based on his military background and understanding of multi-party conflict scenarios. The presence of three hostile forces creates potential for strategic manipulation through coordination of actions that exploit conflicts between alien objectives, he observed during secure communications with the Planning Committee. The assessment revealed that Chur and Cyborg forces possessed strategic interests that directly conflicted with Kresh territorial claims and operational objectives. The competition between alien factions could potentially create opportunities for human resistance operations that would be impossible under single-threat scenarios. Sarah Chen provided technical intelligence regarding the electronic warfare capabilities that each faction demonstrated through their operational activities. Chur systems utilize biological computing methods that operate according to principles that conventional electronic countermeasures cannot effectively target, she reported. However, their organic technologies appear vulnerable to specific types of interference that mechanical systems resist. The Cyborg Collective employed hybrid technological approaches that combine the most effective aspects of biological and mechanical systems. Their electronic warfare capabilities exceeded those of purely technological species, yet their reliance on integrated systems created potential vulnerabilities to attacks that targeted the interface points between biological and mechanical components. David Park contributed analysis of the psionic countermeasures that each faction employed against supernatural abilities. His limited experience with space-time manipulation provided insights into the effectiveness of various alien suppression technologies and potential methods for bypassing or overcoming these defensive systems. Kresh suppression technology focuses on quantum field manipulation that disrupts psionic abilities through interference with space-time structures, David explained during detailed technical discussions with the planning committee. Chur methods appear to utilize biological frequencies that target neural pathways associated with supernatural capabilities. The Cyborg Collective demonstrated the most sophisticated understanding of psionic abilities because their human origins provided them with detailed knowledge of the neurological and psychological factors that enabled supernatural capabilities. Their countermeasures combine technological suppression with psychological manipulation methods that could potentially neutralize psionic abilities through multiple simultaneous approaches. The intelligence regarding multi-faction suppression capabilities revealed that the rescue mission would need to overcome security measures that operated according to 3 different technological paradigms simultaneously. The complexity of these challenges exceeded anything that previous resistance operations had encountered and demanded innovative approaches that could address multiple threat types through coordinated action. Dr. James Mitchell provided updates regarding the specific security modifications that had been implemented at the research facility holding Klain in response to the presence of additional hostile forces within the system. The Kresh had enhanced their containment systems and increased security protocols to prevent other factions from acquiring access to the child's extraordinary capabilities. The facility now operates under enhanced security protocols that include countermeasures designed to prevent infiltration attempts by Chir biological systems and cyborg hybrid technologies, Dr. Mitchell reported. The security upgrades have created additional obstacles for rescue operations while simultaneously creating potential opportunities through resource allocation modifications. The enhanced security measures had required the Kresh to redistribute their available technological and personnel resources in ways that created vulnerabilities in other operational areas. The comprehensive approach to multi-threat security created gaps in surveillance and response capabilities that sophisticated resistance operations might exploit through careful timing and coordination. Elena Santos identified transportation schedule modifications that resulted from the increased security requirements and multi-faction presence within the system. The complexity of coordinating defensive operations against 3 different threat types had created irregularities in supply and personnel movement patterns that could provide opportunities for unauthorized access to restricted facilities. The transportation networks now operate according to variable schedules designed to prevent pattern recognition by hostile forces, Elena explained during operational planning sessions. However, the coordination requirements for multi-threat security have created communication dependencies that resistance operations could potentially exploit. The variable scheduling created opportunities for infiltration operations that could utilize the confusion and resource strain associated with enhanced security protocols. The Kresh were operating beyond their optimal capability levels in attempting to maintain security against 3 different types of threats simultaneously. Cyrus recognized that the presence of multiple hostile forces created both unprecedented challenges and unique opportunities for the rescue mission. The strategic complexity of the current situation demanded operational approaches that could exploit conflicts between alien factions while avoiding engagement with capabilities that exceeded human resistance potential. The rescue operation would need to navigate through a multi-party conflict environment where each faction possessed capabilities that could prove decisive in determining mission success or failure. The coordination requirements for operating within such complex threat scenarios exceeded anything that conventional military training had prepared the team to address. However, the conflicts between alien factions also created possibilities for strategic manipulation that could enable human objectives to succeed through indirect means rather than direct confrontation with superior forces. The key to survival and mission success would involve identifying opportunities where alien conflicts could be exploited to create openings for human action. The planning committee recognized that the rescue mission had evolved from a challenging infiltration operation into a complex strategic exercise that required understanding and manipulation of multi-party conflicts involving forces whose capabilities exceeded human technological achievements. Success would depend upon intelligence, timing, and strategic deception rather than conventional military capabilities. The presence of three hostile forces had transformed the New Eden system into a battlefield where human survival depended upon navigating between threats that individually possessed the capability to destroy human resistance entirely. The rescue of Klain remained essential for long-term human survival prospects, yet the mission now required execution within a strategic environment that demanded exceptional sophistication and coordination to achieve any possibility of success. Chapter Chapter 9: Absorbing Klain's Consciousness. The infiltration of the primary Kresh research facility succeeded through a combination of precise timing, strategic deception, and exploitation of vulnerabilities created by the three-way conflict that had destabilized normal security protocols throughout the New Eden system. Cyrus Gant and his carefully assembled team penetrated the most secure installation in alien space during a period when Kresh attention remained divided between immediate threats from Chir biological weapons and cyborg hybrid assault systems. The facility's interior architecture demonstrated the advanced technological capabilities that had enabled Kresh civilization to maintain dominion over multiple star systems for centuries. Corridors constructed from materials that appeared to bend light around their surfaces created navigation challenges that would have proven insurmountable without detailed intelligence provided by Dr. James Mitchell regarding structural layouts and security checkpoint locations. The containment chamber that housed Klain occupied the facility's most heavily protected section, surrounded by redundant suppression systems that utilized quantum field manipulation, biological interference patterns, and psychological conditioning methods designed to neutralize any conceivable rescue attempt. The security measures represented the culmination of Kresh scientific understanding regarding containment of beings whose capabilities transcended conventional physical limitations. Sarah Chen coordinated electronic warfare operations that created temporary disruptions in facility monitoring systems while avoiding triggering automated response protocols that would alert security personnel to unauthorized presence within restricted areas. Her technical expertise enabled the team to navigate through surveillance networks that employed multiple overlapping detection methods calibrated to identify various types of infiltration attempts. Marcus Sterling provided tactical coordination that enabled team members to reach the containment chamber through routes that minimized exposure to patrols and automated security systems. His military experience proved essential for timing movements according to shift changes and maintenance schedules that created brief windows of reduced surveillance coverage. David Park utilized his limited psionic abilities to bypass containment barriers that conventional methods could not overcome. His supernatural capabilities, while significantly less developed than those of trained specials, provided essential advantages for neutralizing suppression fields that had been specifically designed to prevent escape attempts by beings with extraordinary abilities. The first visual contact with Klain revealed the devastating impact that extended captivity and experimental procedures had inflicted upon the child whose capabilities represented humanity's potential salvation. The boy appeared to be approximately 12 years of age, yet his physical condition suggested systematic torture and medical experimentation that had pushed human endurance beyond normal survival limits. The containment systems that surrounded Klain included both technological restraints and biological monitoring equipment that maintained detailed surveillance over every aspect of his physiological and psychological condition. The Kresh had implemented comprehensive control measures designed to prevent any unauthorized use of his extraordinary abilities while enabling continued research into their fundamental mechanisms. Klain's consciousness remained alert despite the suppression systems and physical trauma that had characterized his captivity. His recognition of the rescue team's presence demonstrated retention of cognitive capabilities that had survived months of systematic attempts to break his psychological resistance and extract information regarding the nature and limitations of his supernatural abilities. "I have been waiting for someone to attempt this operation," Klain communicated through telepathic contact that bypassed the technological suppression systems through methods that Kresh scientists had failed to anticipate or prevent. "However, the circumstances of my rescue will require sacrifices that extend beyond what conventional planning has considered." The telepathic communication revealed that Klain possessed detailed knowledge of current strategic situations throughout the New Eden system, including awareness of the three-way conflict between Kresh, Chur, and cyborg forces that had created opportunities for the rescue mission. His supernatural abilities enabled him to monitor developments across planetary distances despite his physical confinement within the research facility. The extraction of Klain from the containment systems proved more complex than operational planning had anticipated. The suppression technology had been integrated with his biological systems through surgical procedures that created dependencies between alien monitoring equipment and essential life support functions. Removing the restraints without proper medical facilities would result in catastrophic physiological consequences. Dr. James Mitchell provided emergency medical assessment that revealed the full scope of challenges associated with Klain's extraction. The Kresh have implemented containment procedures that utilize his own nervous system as components of the suppression network, he explained during hurried evaluation of the boy's condition. "Severing these connections without specialized equipment will prove fatal within minutes." The revelation that successful rescue would require medical capabilities that the team did not possess created fundamental conflicts between mission objectives and practical limitations. The extraction of Klain from containment systems would result in his death, yet leaving him within Kresh custody would ensure continued torture and eventual utilization of his abilities for purposes that could destroy human civilization entirely. The strategic situation deteriorated rapidly as facility security systems detected unauthorized presence within the containment chamber despite Sarah Chen's electronic warfare operations. Automated response protocols initiated lockdown procedures that would seal the facility and prevent escape while summoning security forces equipped with capabilities specifically designed to neutralize human resistance operations. Marcus Sterling coordinated defensive positions that could provide temporary protection against security forces, while team members attempted to resolve the medical complications associated with Klain's extraction. However, the tactical situation offered no sustainable defensive options against Kresh military capabilities operating within their own facility. The approach of security forces coincided with detection of larger strategic developments throughout the New Eden system that threatened to overwhelm human survival prospects entirely. Communications intercepts revealed that Chur and cyborg forces had begun coordinated assault operations against Kresh installations, creating system-wide conflicts that would eliminate any possibility of escape from the research facility. Klain utilized telepathic communication to provide strategic assessment of developments that conventional human intelligence gathering could not access. "The three-way conflict has entered decisive phases that will determine control over this system within hours rather than days," he explained through mental contact that transcended physical limitations. "Human survival requires capabilities that exceed what conventional resistance operations can provide." The boy's analysis revealed that the rescue mission had succeeded during a period when larger strategic forces were converging toward confrontations that would reshape the balance of power throughout the region. The timing of these developments suggested coordination between various alien factions that had implications extending far beyond immediate threats to human populations within the New Eden system. Cyrus recognized that the mission faced fundamental failure unless extraordinary measures could overcome the medical and tactical obstacles that prevented successful extraction of Klain from Kresh custody. The conventional approach to rescue operations had proven insufficient to address the complex challenges created by advanced containment technology and deteriorating strategic circumstances. The solution that emerged from desperate assessment of available options involved procedures that transcended conventional understanding of human capabilities and consciousness transfer methods. Klein possessed detailed knowledge of psionic techniques that could enable the preservation of his consciousness and abilities through integration with another individual's neural systems. The absorption of my consciousness into your neural structures will preserve my capabilities while enabling your survival of the transfer process, Klein explained through telepathic contact that provided detailed technical information regarding the proposed procedure. However, the integration will fundamentally alter your psychological and physiological characteristics in ways that cannot be reversed. The consciousness transfer process would enable Cyrus to inherit Klein's extraordinary psionic abilities while maintaining his own personality and memories as the dominant consciousness within the integrated neural system. The procedure offered the possibility of preserving the capabilities that humanity required for survival while enabling escape from circumstances that would otherwise result in capture or death. The technical requirements for consciousness transfer involved psionic manipulation techniques that exceeded anything that conventional human science had achieved or documented. The process would require direct neural contact between Cyrus and Klein during the final moments of the boy's life, enabling the transfer of consciousness and abilities through methods that operated according to principles that transcended normal biological limitations. Cyrus faced the most significant decision of his life in recognizing that accepting Klein's consciousness would transform him into something that exceeded normal human characteristics, while creating responsibilities that extended to the survival of human civilization itself. The choice involved accepting fundamental changes to his identity in exchange for capabilities that could prove decisive in confronting threats that conventional human resources could not address. The decision to proceed with consciousness transfer reflected both recognition of strategic necessity and acceptance of personal sacrifice that extended beyond normal concepts of individual survival. The preservation of Klein's abilities represented humanity's potential salvation, yet the integration process would create psychological and physiological changes that would fundamentally alter Cyrus's existence. The consciousness transfer commenced as facility security forces breached the containment chamber and began operations designed to prevent human escape or extraction of valuable research subjects. The timing of the procedure occurred during active combat that created additional complications for the delicate neural integration process required for successful consciousness transfer. Klein initiated the transfer through direct neural contact that enabled the passage of consciousness and abilities from his dying neural system into Cyrus's brain structures. The process involved electromagnetic phenomena that transcended normal biological functions, while creating integration between two distinct consciousness systems within a single neural framework. The experience of consciousness absorption proved both physically excruciating and psychologically overwhelming as Cyrus's neural systems adapted to accommodate capabilities and knowledge that exceeded normal human limitations. The integration process involved fundamental modifications to brain structure and function that enabled the processing and utilization of supernatural abilities that conventional human physiology could not support. The completion of consciousness transfer occurred simultaneously with Klein's physical death and the arrival of security forces equipped with weapons designed to neutralize human resistance through methods that conventional defensive measures could not counter. The timing of these events created immediate testing conditions for the newly integrated consciousness and abilities that would determine whether the transfer had succeeded in preserving essential capabilities. Cyrus experienced immediate awareness of psionic abilities that exceeded anything that the original specials aboard the Redemption had demonstrated. The integration of Klein's consciousness provided access to space-time manipulation capabilities that operated on scales that approached cosmic-level phenomena rather than individual biological limitations. The first application of these enhanced abilities involved creating spatial rifts that enabled immediate escape from the research facility despite the presence of security forces and containment systems designed to prevent any form of unauthorized departure. The successful utilization of integrated consciousness demonstrated that the transfer had preserved essential capabilities while enabling survival under circumstances that would have otherwise resulted in capture or death. The escape from Kresh custody marked the completion of the rescue mission through methods that had preserved Klane's abilities while creating new strategic possibilities for confronting the three-way conflict that threatened human survival throughout the New Eden system. The consciousness integration had produced capabilities that could potentially address threats that conventional human resistance could not overcome. Now, Chapter 10: The Battle Within the Mind. The successful escape from the Kresh research facility provided only temporary respite from the overwhelming challenges that confronted Cyrus Gant following his integration with Klane's consciousness. The extraordinary psionic abilities that he had inherited through the consciousness transfer enabled him to navigate through hostile territory with capabilities that exceeded anything that conventional human resistance could achieve. Yet the psychological integration process had created vulnerabilities that alien entities could exploit through methods that transcended physical attack. The first indication of internal invasion occurred during the third day following the escape, when Cyrus attempted to utilize his enhanced spatial manipulation abilities to establish contact with the scattered human resistance networks throughout the New Eden system. The psionic activities that should have enabled communication across planetary distances instead triggered responses from consciousness entities that existed within dimensional frameworks that normal human awareness could not perceive. The alien presence that infiltrated his mental structures demonstrated characteristics that differed fundamentally from the biological species that humanity had encountered during the colonial expedition. This entity appeared to exist primarily as consciousness without physical form, utilizing psionic energy patterns as both sustenance and medium for expansion into other awareness systems that possess supernatural capabilities. Dr. Elena Vasquez, who had been rescued during the facility escape operation, provided scientific analysis of the phenomenon based on her research into psionic abilities and their interaction with various forms of alien consciousness. Her evaluation revealed that the entity represented a form of existence that operated according to principles that exceeded conventional understanding of biological or technological life. The consciousness invasion demonstrates characteristics consistent with parasitic entities that exist within higher dimensional space, Dr. Vasquez explained during emergency consultation sessions conducted through secure communication channels. These beings appear to sustain themselves through absorption of psionic energy and eventual assimilation of host consciousness systems. The parasitic entity's approach to invasion involved systematic infiltration of neural pathways that supported Cyrus's newly acquired supernatural abilities. The integration process that had enabled him to inherit Klane's capabilities had created connection points between his consciousness and dimensional frameworks that the alien entity utilized for access to human mental structures. The entity's initial activities involved subtle manipulation of memory patterns and decision-making processes that could influence Cyrus's behavior without triggering conscious awareness of external control. The sophisticated approach to psychological manipulation suggested extensive experience with consciousness invasion and host assimilation across multiple species and dimensional frameworks. Klane's consciousness, which remained integrated within Cyrus's neural systems as a distinct yet connected awareness, provided essential intelligence regarding the nature and capabilities of the invading entity. The boy's extraordinary psionic development had included encounters with similar consciousness parasites during his captivity under Kresh experimentation programs. The entity belongs to a species that exists primarily within the quantum substrates that support space-time manipulation. Klane's consciousness communicated through internal telepathic contact that bypassed normal sensory channels. Their assimilation procedures involve gradual replacement of host consciousness with their own awareness patterns until complete control is achieved. The revelation that the invasion represented a systematic assimilation process rather than temporary possession created urgent requirements for defensive measures that could prevent complete loss of human consciousness and capabilities. The failure to resist the entity's infiltration would result in the transformation of humanity's most powerful defensive asset into a weapon controlled by hostile alien intelligence. The psychological battleground within Cyrus's mind involved conflicts that operated according to rules that differed fundamentally from physical combat or conventional resistance operations. The entity's attacks targeted memory structures, emotional associations, and decision-making frameworks that comprise the foundation of human identity and personality. The defense of consciousness required techniques that utilized both Cyrus's street-smart survival instincts and Klain's advanced understanding of psionic manipulation principles. The integration of two distinct consciousness systems provided advantages that the parasitic entity had not anticipated, creating opportunities for resistance that exceeded what single awareness hosts could achieve. The initial phase of mental combat involved establishing secure areas within consciousness space that could serve as defensive positions against the entity's infiltration attempts. Cyrus utilized his experience with territorial control from his criminal background to create psychological barriers that protected essential memory and personality structures from alien manipulation. Klain's consciousness contributed detailed knowledge of dimensional manipulation techniques that could be applied within mental frameworks to create barriers and weapons that operated according to supernatural principles rather than conventional physical laws. The boy's expertise enabled the development of defensive strategies that exceeded what either consciousness could achieve independently. The entity responded to human resistance efforts with escalated attack patterns that revealed both its sophisticated capabilities and fundamental vulnerabilities. The parasitic species had evolved strategies optimized for assimilating individual consciousness systems, but demonstrated limited adaptation to integrated awareness configurations that included multiple distinct yet cooperative consciousness entities. The psychological attacks manifested as systematic corruption of memory patterns that supported Cyrus's identity and decision-making capabilities. The entity attempted to replace authentic memories with false experiences that would gradually shift his personality and motivations toward alignment with alien objectives and values. The defense against memory corruption required constant vigilance and coordination between Cyrus's consciousness and Klain's integrated awareness. The two consciousness systems maintained continuous monitoring of memory integrity while implementing correction procedures that could restore authentic experiences and eliminate alien modifications. The battle expanded beyond memory protection to encompass conflicts over control of the psionic abilities that the consciousness integration had created. The entity recognized that access to Klain's extraordinary capabilities would enable it to influence events throughout the New Eden system while advancing broader strategic objectives that threatened human survival across multiple star systems. The struggle for control of supernatural abilities occurred within dimensional frameworks that existed parallel to normal spacetime but operated according to principles that human science had never encountered. The combat required navigation through consciousness landscapes that combined elements of memory, imagination, and fundamental reality structures that supported both identity and psionic capabilities. Cyrus discovered that his criminal background provided unexpected advantages for psychological combat within these alien dimensional frameworks. The survival skills that he had developed during his years in Earth's underground networks included techniques for maintaining identity integrity under extreme psychological pressure and systematic attempts at behavior modification through torture and intimidation. The street-smart approach to consciousness defense involved recognition that the entity's attack patterns followed predictable strategies that could be analyzed and countered through adaptive responses. The alien intelligence demonstrated sophisticated capabilities yet appeared to operate according to systematic procedures that created exploitable vulnerabilities. Klain's consciousness contributed analysis of the entity's fundamental nature and strategic objectives that revealed critical weaknesses in its assimilation procedures. The parasitic species required gradual integration with host consciousness to achieve stable control, creating time-dependent vulnerabilities that aggressive resistance could exploit before a complete assimilation occurred. The coordinated defense strategy involved systematic attacks against the entity's connection points within Cyrus's neural systems, while simultaneously strengthening the psychological barriers that protected essential consciousness structures. The approach required precise timing and coordination between both human awareness systems to achieve effectiveness against alien capabilities. The turning point in the mental battle occurred when Cyrus recognized that the entity's parasitic nature created dependencies that could be exploited through strategic manipulation of the psionic energy flows that sustained its existence within human consciousness space. The alien intelligence required continuous access to supernatural energy sources to maintain its invasion and assimilation operations. The implementation of energy denial tactics involved redirecting psionic flows away from the entity's access points while creating feedback loops that disrupted its ability to maintain stable presence within human consciousness frameworks. The techniques required sophisticated understanding of dimensional manipulation principles that Klein's integrated awareness provided through detailed technical guidance. The entity's response to energy denial tactics revealed both desperation and previously concealed capabilities that suggested broader strategic coordination with other consciousness parasites throughout the galactic region. The individual invasion attempt represented one component of systematic efforts to assimilate beings with supernatural abilities across multiple star systems and species. The revelation of coordinated consciousness invasion programs created strategic implications that extended far beyond the immediate battle for Cyrus's mental integrity. The parasitic species appeared to represent a threat to psionic beings throughout the galaxy, creating potential common interests between various species that possess supernatural capabilities. The final phase of psychological combat involved direct confrontation between human consciousness and alien intelligence within dimensional frameworks that compressed all previous conflicts into decisive engagement for complete control over integrated awareness systems. The battle required utilization of every defensive capability and strategic resource that the combined consciousness entities possessed. The successful defense against consciousness invasion occurred through coordinated application of energy manipulation techniques that severed the entity's connection to dimensional substrates, while simultaneously reinforcing the integration between Cyrus's original awareness and Klein's inherited consciousness. The victory required sacrifice of some psionic capabilities to achieve complete elimination of alien presence. The aftermath of psychological victory left Cyrus fundamentally changed through the integration experience and conscious defense requirements. The successful resistance to consciousness invasion had strengthened the coordination between integrated awareness systems while providing detailed understanding of threats that exceeded conventional alien military capabilities. The intelligence gained through mental combat revealed that the consciousness parasites represented strategic threats that could compromise any resistance operations that relied upon beings with supernatural abilities. The successful defense of integrated consciousness had demonstrated techniques that could protect other psionic individuals from similar invasion attempts while providing strategic advantages for broader resistance efforts. The victory within consciousness space created enhanced coordination between Cyrus's original awareness and Klein's inherited capabilities while eliminating vulnerabilities that alien entities could exploit for strategic manipulation. The integrated consciousness had emerged stronger and more capable through successful resistance to assimilation attempts. The experience of consciousness combat had provided essential training for operating within dimensional frameworks that supported advanced psionic abilities while maintaining human identity and strategic objectives. The successful defense represented preparation for larger conflicts that would determine whether humanity could utilize supernatural capabilities to achieve survival against overwhelming technological and consciousness-based threats. The battle within the mind had concluded with human victory, yet the broader strategic situation remained desperate as three-way conflicts between alien factions continued to threaten human survival throughout the New Eden system. The enhanced consciousness integration provided capabilities that could prove decisive in confronting these external threats while maintaining resistance to future consciousness invasion attempts. Chapter 11, Warning Earth. The successful defense against consciousness invasion had strengthened the integrated awareness that Cyrus Gant now possessed, yet the broader strategic situation throughout the New Eden system continued to deteriorate as conflicts between Kresh, Chur, and cyborg forces escalated toward decisive confrontations that would determine control over the entire stellar region. The enhanced psionic capabilities that resulted from his integration with Klein's consciousness provided unprecedented opportunities for strategic action, yet the immediate priority remained the transmission of critical intelligence to Earth regarding threats that could destroy human civilization entirely. The quantum entanglement communication systems that had enabled contact between the Redemption Expedition and Earth possessed technological limitations that conventional methods could not overcome. The vast distances involved in interstellar communication required signal amplification and routing procedures that depended upon relay stations and infrastructure that the current conflict had disrupted or destroyed. Dr. Elena Vasquez coordinated technical assessment of available communication options through her position within the scattered human resistance network that had survived the initial alien assault on the expedition. Her analysis revealed that conventional communication methods remained compromised by alien interference and the destruction of critical relay systems during the three-way conflict. The primary communication arrays have been systematically targeted by all three alien factions to prevent unauthorized intelligence transmission, Dr. Vasquez reported during secure consultation sessions. However, the enhanced psionic capabilities that you now possess could potentially enable direct quantum manipulation of communication substrates that conventional technology cannot access. The proposed approach to Earth communication involved utilization of space-time manipulation abilities to create quantum entanglement channels that could bypass conventional infrastructure requirements while operating according to principles that alien interference could not effectively counter. The technique required precise coordination between consciousness integration capabilities and dimensional manipulation principles that exceeded anything previously attempted. Klein's integrated consciousness contributed detailed technical knowledge regarding quantum communication methods that operated through direct manipulation of fundamental force structures rather than technological intermediaries. The boy's extraordinary abilities had included experimentation with communication techniques that could reach across galactic distances through methods that transcended conventional physics limitations. The quantum substrates that support space-time manipulation can be configured to carry information patterns across any distance instantaneously, Klein's awareness explained through internal telepathic contact. However, the energy requirements and precision demands exceed what most beings with supernatural abilities can achieve without significant risk to their consciousness integrity. The technical challenges associated with long-range quantum communication included both the massive energy requirements necessary for maintaining stable channels across interstellar distances and the precision control needed to prevent signal distortion or interception by hostile forces. The failure of communication attempts could result in consciousness disruption or the inadvertent provision of strategic intelligence to alien entities. Cyrus initiated preliminary experiments with quantum manipulation techniques designed to establish communication pathways that could reach Earth's defensive command centers without revealing the location or capabilities of human resistance operations within the New Eden system. The experimental procedures required careful calibration to avoid triggering detection by alien surveillance systems while maintaining signal coherence across astronomical distances. The first successful communication attempt occurred during a period when alien conflicts had created temporary disruptions in monitoring activities throughout the system. The quantum channel that Cyrus established through space-time manipulation enabled direct contact with Earth's Strategic Defense Command, providing the first intelligence transmission that had reached human homeworld since the expedition's departure. The response from Earth revealed strategic developments that fundamentally altered human understanding of the current crisis and its implications for civilization's survival prospects. Intelligence gathered through Earth's own exploration and defense operations had identified threats that exceeded the immediate challenges posed by Kresh-Chur and cyborg forces within the New Eden system. Admiral Catherine Morrison, commanding officer of Earth's Deep Space Defense Initiative, provided classified intelligence that had been gathered through covert reconnaissance operations conducted throughout the local Galactic region. Her transmission revealed the existence of strategic coordination between various alien species that suggested threats operating on scales that transcended individual star system conflicts. Our intelligence operations have identified what appears to be a coordinated expansion program involving multiple alien civilizations that possess capabilities exceeding anything in our technological development, Admiral Morrison transmitted through the quantum communication channel. The conflicts you have encountered represent preliminary operations designed to test human capabilities and identify strategic vulnerabilities. The intelligence transmission revealed that the three-way conflict within the New Eden system had been deliberately orchestrated to assess human response capabilities under extreme pressure while gathering data regarding supernatural abilities that various alien species considered strategically significant. The apparent chaos of competing alien objectives masked systematic coordination designed to achieve comprehensive evaluation of human potential. The broader strategic picture that emerged from Earth's intelligence indicated that humanity faced threats from an alliance of alien civilizations whose combined capabilities could overwhelm any conceivable human defense. The technological and consciousness-based advantages that individual species possessed were coordinated through strategic frameworks that treated human expansion as a threat requiring elimination through systematic military action. The revelation of coordinated alien opposition created implications that extended far beyond the immediate survival challenges within the New Eden system. The human expedition had unknowingly triggered responses from alliance structures that possessed the capability to locate and destroy Earth itself if human expansion continued to threaten their territorial claims or strategic objectives. Admiral Morrison's transmission included intelligence regarding the specific capabilities that alien alliance forces could deploy against Earth's defensive systems. The technological advantages that individual species demonstrated were amplified through coordination that enabled combined operations utilizing the most effective capabilities from multiple civilizations simultaneously. Conservative estimates suggest that coordinated alien forces possess the capability to overwhelm Earth's planetary defenses within days of initiating assault operations, Admiral Morrison reported through the Quantum Channel. Our survival prospects depend upon intelligence regarding alien capabilities and strategic objectives that could enable defensive countermeasures or diplomatic solutions. The request for detailed intelligence created urgent requirements for a comprehensive assessment of alien capabilities and strategic coordination that Cyrus had observed during his resistance operations. The information that Earth required for effective defense planning exceeded what conventional intelligence gathering could provide under current circumstances. Cyrus recognized that his enhanced consciousness integration and direct exposure to alien operations provided unique access to strategic intelligence that could prove decisive for human survival. The psionic capabilities that he now possessed enabled observation and analysis methods that conventional reconnaissance could not achieve while operating within alien-controlled territory. The systematic intelligence gathering operation that Cyrus initiated utilized space-time manipulation abilities to establish observation points throughout the New Eden system that could monitor alien communications, tactical coordination, and strategic planning activities. The enhanced consciousness integration enabled simultaneous monitoring of multiple locations while maintaining concealment from alien detection systems. The intelligence gathered through supernatural surveillance revealed the true scope of threats facing human civilization. The alien alliance that had orchestrated the conflicts within the New Eden system included species whose capabilities operated on cosmic scales that could manipulate stellar phenomena, planetary systems, and galactic-level energy structures. The most disturbing revelation concerned the existence of alien entities that possessed the ability to manipulate fundamental forces that supported the stability of solar systems and planetary environments. These beings could trigger stellar instabilities, gravitational anomalies, and space-time distortions that would destroy entire worlds without requiring conventional military engagement. The strategic coordination between alliance members involved systematic preparation for operations that would eliminate human presence throughout explored space while preventing the possibility of human expansion into territories that alien civilizations considered essential for their continued development. The scope of planned operations exceeded warfare to encompass complete species elimination. Dr. Elena Vasquez provided scientific analysis of the intelligence that Cyrus had gathered regarding cosmic-scale alien capabilities. Her evaluation revealed that humanity faced threats that transcended conventional understanding of military conflict and approached scenarios involving fundamental manipulation of physical laws that governed planetary and stellar environments. The alien capabilities you have documented suggest technological development that operates according to principles we have never encountered, Dr. Vasquez explained during emergency consultation sessions. The manipulation of stellar phenomena and gravitational structures requires understanding of cosmic-scale engineering that exceeds human scientific achievement by millennia. The intelligence transmission to Earth included detailed documentation of alien capabilities and strategic coordination that revealed both the scope of threats and potential vulnerabilities that human resistance might exploit. The quantum communication channel enabled the transfer of comprehensive data that Earth scientists and military planners could utilize for defensive preparation. The response from Earth's Strategic Defense Command indicated recognition that conventional defensive measures would prove inadequate against threats that operated on cosmic scales. The military and scientific leadership acknowledged that human survival would require capabilities that exceeded current technological achievements while potentially demanding strategic approaches that transcended conventional warfare entirely. Admiral Morrison's final transmission provided directives for continued intelligence gathering and resistance operations that could delay alien alliance coordination while Earth attempted to develop defensive capabilities that might prove effective against cosmic-scale threats. The strategic objective involved creating time for human civilization to develop responses to challenges that exceeded anything in recorded history. Continue intelligence gathering regarding alien coordination and capabilities while maintaining resistance operations that could disrupt their strategic planning, Admiral Morrison instructed through the Quantum Channel. Earth requires maximum possible delay of alliance operations to enable development of defensive measures that might preserve human civilization. The quantum communication session concluded with recognition that Cyrus possessed unique capabilities and strategic position that could prove decisive for human survival prospects. The enhanced consciousness integration had created abilities that exceeded what Earth's planners had anticipated while providing access to intelligence that conventional methods could not obtain. The broader strategic situation revealed that the rescue of Klane's consciousness and the successful defense against alien invasion had provided humanity with capabilities that alien alliance planning had not anticipated. The integrated consciousness represented potential for resistance that exceeded what individual human or alien capabilities could achieve independently. However, the scope of threats that humanity faced required strategic responses that exceeded what any individual could accomplish regardless of supernatural abilities. The cosmic-scale capabilities that alien alliance forces possess demanded coordinated human action utilizing every available resource and capability to achieve any possibility of species survival. The intelligence gathered regarding alien alliance coordination provided essential understanding of threats, while revealing that the final confrontation would involve challenges that transcended conventional conflict scenarios. The battle for human survival would require capabilities that operated on cosmic scales while maintaining human identity and strategic objectives against overwhelming opposition. The warning transmitted to Earth had provided essential intelligence while revealing that humanity's ultimate survival depended upon developments within the New Eden system that could determine whether human civilization would achieve the capabilities necessary for defense against cosmic-scale threats or face complete extinction through alien alliance operations that exceeded every previous challenge in human history. Sat. Chapter 12. The Future of Humanity. The final confrontation that would determine the survival or extinction of human civilization commenced when the alien alliance forces began systematic implementation of their cosmic-scale assault protocols throughout the New Eden system. The strategic coordination between Kresh, Chir, Cyborg, and previously hidden alien entities created combined capabilities that exceeded anything that conventional military analysis had anticipated. Yet the enhanced consciousness integration that Cyrus Gant possessed provided humanity with potential responses that alliance planning had failed to consider. The Alliance assault operation utilized technological capabilities that manipulated fundamental forces governing stellar stability and planetary environments. The primary assault commenced with systematic destabilization of the New Eden star itself, creating solar flare patterns and gravitational anomalies that would render the entire system uninhabitable within standard time periods measured in weeks rather than the astronomical scales typically associated with stellar evolution. Dr. Elena Vasquez coordinated scientific analysis of the stellar manipulation techniques through emergency communication channels that connected the scattered human resistance networks throughout the system. Her evaluation revealed that Alliance forces possessed capabilities that operated according to principles that human science had never encountered and could not adequately explain through conventional theoretical frameworks. The Alien Alliance is implementing controlled stellar collapse procedures that will create a nova-level event designed to eliminate all biological life throughout the system, while preserving mineral and energy resources for subsequent Alliance utilization, Dr. Vasquez reported through secure quantum communication channels. The timeline for complete stellar destabilization suggests approximately 18 standard days before total system sterilization occurs. The revelation that Alliance forces intended complete elimination of human presence while preserving system resources for their own purposes created urgent requirements for countermeasures that could either prevent stellar collapse or enable human evacuation on scales that exceeded available transportation capabilities. The strategic situation demanded responses that operated on cosmic levels to address threats that transcended conventional military engagement. Cyrus recognized that his enhanced psionic abilities represented humanity's only realistic capability for addressing cosmic-scale threats through methods that could potentially neutralize Alliance advantages. The consciousness integration with Klein had provided access to space-time manipulation techniques that operated according to principles similar to those that Alliance forces utilized for stellar engineering purposes. The initial assessment of required countermeasures involved systematic analysis of stellar destabilization procedures to identify intervention points where psionic manipulation could disrupt Alliance operations. The technical challenges associated with stellar-scale intervention exceeded anything that individual consciousness could accomplish through conventional supernatural abilities, yet the integrated awareness system that Cyrus possessed provided potential for capabilities that transcended normal limitations. Klein's integrated consciousness contributed detailed understanding of cosmic-scale psionic techniques that had been theoretical concepts during his captivity under Kresh experimentation programs. The boy's extraordinary capabilities had included awareness of manipulation principles that operated on astronomical scales, though practical application had remained impossible under containment conditions that limited access to required energy sources. Stellar intervention requires coordination between consciousness awareness and cosmic energy patterns that exist within the fundamental structures supporting galactic organization, Klein's consciousness explained through internal telepathic contact. The techniques involve manipulation of forces that exceed individual biological capabilities, yet integrated awareness systems can potentially access collective consciousness frameworks that operate on cosmic scales. The proposed approach to stellar intervention involved utilization of consciousness networks that connected beings with supernatural abilities across galactic distances. The technique required establishing contact with other entities that possessed psionic capabilities while coordinating their collective awareness to create intervention effects that exceeded what individual consciousness could achieve independently. The search for cosmic consciousness networks involved expanding telepathic awareness beyond the immediate New Eden system to identify beings with supernatural abilities throughout the local galactic region. The enhanced integration that Cyrus possessed enabled communication across astronomical distances through methods that operated according to quantum entanglement principles rather than conventional signal transmission. The initial contact attempts revealed the existence of consciousness entities that existed within dimensional frameworks parallel to normal spacetime. These beings possessed awareness and capabilities that transcended biological limitations while maintaining interest in preventing cosmic-scale destruction that could destabilize dimensional structures supporting their existence. The cosmic consciousness entities identified themselves as representatives of evolutionary development that had transcended physical existence while retaining connection to material universe structures. Their capabilities included manipulation of fundamental forces that govern stellar formation, galactic organization, and dimensional stability across cosmic scales that exceeded individual planetary or solar system frameworks. The Alliance forces that threaten your species represent disturbances in cosmic equilibrium that affect dimensional structures throughout this galactic region, communicated the primary cosmic consciousness entity through telepathic contact that transcended normal sensory experience. Their systematic destruction of biological civilizations creates instabilities that threaten the fundamental framework supporting both material and dimensional existence. The revelation that Alliance operations pose threats to cosmic stability created opportunities for coordination between human resistance and cosmic consciousness entities whose strategic interests aligned with preventing large-scale destructive activities. The intervention capabilities that cosmic entities possessed could potentially neutralize Alliance advantages while preserving human civilization and broader cosmic equilibrium. The coordination between human consciousness and cosmic entities required integration procedures that exceeded anything that Cyrus had experienced during his absorption of Klane's awareness. The process involved temporary expansion of consciousness beyond individual limitations to participate in collective awareness frameworks that operated according to principles governing cosmic-scale phenomena. The consciousness expansion procedure enabled Cyrus to access awareness levels that encompassed stellar phenomena, galactic energy patterns, and dimensional structures that supported the stability of spacetime itself. The experience transcended individual identity while maintaining connection to human strategic objectives and survival requirements. The collective consciousness intervention commenced through coordinated manipulation of energy patterns that supported the artificial stellar destabilization procedures implemented by Alliance forces. The cosmic scale awareness enabled identification of critical intervention points where collective psionic action could disrupt Alliance operations without causing alternative forms of stellar instability. The intervention process involved systematic restoration of stellar equilibrium through manipulation of fusion processes, magnetic field structures, and gravitational patterns that governed normal solar function. The collective consciousness possessed capabilities that exceeded Alliance technological advantages through direct manipulation of fundamental forces rather than dependence upon artificial systems. The Alliance response to cosmic consciousness intervention revealed both their sophisticated understanding of dimensional warfare and fundamental limitations in their strategic planning capabilities. The Alliance forces had developed countermeasures designed to address conventional technological and biological threats, yet demonstrated limited preparation for intervention by entities that operated on cosmic consciousness levels. The escalation of conflict to cosmic scales created strategic dynamics that transcended the immediate survival concerns of human civilization to encompass broader questions regarding the balance of power between technological and consciousness-based approaches to galactic organization. The outcome would determine whether material or dimensional frameworks would dominate future development throughout the local galactic region. The decisive phase of cosmic-scale conflict involved direct confrontation between Alliance technological capabilities and collective consciousness intervention, operating through coordinated manipulation of fundamental forces. The battle occurred simultaneously across multiple dimensional frameworks, while affecting material universe structures throughout the New Eden system and beyond. Cyrus experienced the cosmic scale battle through expanded consciousness that enabled awareness of conflicts occurring across astronomical distances while maintaining connection to human strategic objectives. The integration with collective cosmic consciousness provided capabilities that exceeded individual limitations while preserving essential human identity and survival requirements. The successful intervention against Alliance stellar manipulation marked the turning point in cosmic-scale conflict that preserved both immediate human survival prospects and broader dimensional stability throughout the galactic region. The collective consciousness capabilities had proven superior to Alliance technological advantages through direct manipulation of forces that technological systems could not adequately control or counter. The restoration of stellar stability within the New Eden system created immediate opportunities for human survival and long-term strategic development. The demonstration of cosmic consciousness intervention capabilities had established new strategic frameworks that provided protection against future Alliance operations while enabling human expansion according to principles that maintained cosmic equilibrium. The aftermath of cosmic-scale victory revealed fundamental changes in galactic power structures that created unprecedented opportunities for human civilization development. The Alliance forces had been neutralized through methods that established cosmic consciousness frameworks as dominant influences over technological approaches to galactic organization and territorial control. Cyrus experienced gradual return to individual consciousness awareness while maintaining permanent connection to cosmic consciousness networks that would provide ongoing protection and guidance for human civilization development. The integration had created capabilities that transcended normal human limitations while preserving essential identity characteristics and strategic commitments to species survival. The transformation of strategic circumstances throughout the galactic region enabled human expansion according to principles that maintained harmony with cosmic equilibrium requirements. The survival and development of human civilization had been secured through intervention that established frameworks for continued growth without triggering future conflicts with cosmic-scale forces. The journey that had begun with desperate escape from a dying Earth had concluded with the establishment of human civilization as a protected component of cosmic consciousness networks that governed galactic development, according to principles supporting both material and dimensional stability. The street-smart survival instincts that had enabled Cyrus to navigate criminal enterprises had evolved into cosmic-scale awareness that secured humanity's future among the stars. The final assessment of human survival prospects revealed that the species had achieved protection and guidance that would enable continued development according to principles that maintained cosmic equilibrium while preserving essential human characteristics and strategic autonomy. The integration of technological capability with cosmic consciousness awareness had created frameworks for expansion that exceeded anything that previous human planning had envisioned. The future of humanity had been secured through transformation that preserved species identity while establishing connection to cosmic consciousness networks that would guide development according to principles supporting both individual survival and broader galactic stability. The victory had been achieved through capabilities that transcended conventional understanding while maintaining essential human values and strategic objectives that defined civilization's continued existence and expansion throughout the cosmos.